test. Guys, see how loudly I can talk.
Hi, hello, welcome.
Smile like that.
It's a regular smile.
It's crystal clear, we've been for years, struggle straight along the way, but having you by my side makes everything okay. We're watching video clips of all types of laughing out loud, we really hate this crowd, and we don't know where to go, hopefully take it slow. Lots of hustler minds will reject the decline, our approach to life and that, well that's just fine. We wanna let others live because it's none of our business. We press your chest and pull on now we're a mess. There's so many minds, hey, I'd like to align. See beyond this place, we want a part of this race. We do what we can, you better tap out, man. You're about to pass out or get a pick for the cloud. Why is it so hard out here? They made it so weird. Try to stay woke and humble and joke. It's f***ing hard out here.
All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of It's Hard Out Here. I'm Joel Morales.
I'm Karen Ayala.
And today we have a special guest with us, Kaley Andrews.
Hi guys.
We know Kaley through a coffee shop that we frequent regularly, our favorite coffee shop. It's close by, it's in the neighborhood.
Has a lot of cool stuff. We like it.
Yeah, they have a lot of cool events going on there all the time. It's just, it's our place, you know? It's where we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think we go there the most.
For sure. And so, you know, by doing that, we've come to know Kaley a little bit, and we're always having like fun discussions with her at the bar or whatever. You could call it a bar, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, countertop.
Oh, literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is a bar also.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
But I feel like everyone always picks one way. I used to drink there, so I was like, yeah, it's a bar. And everybody else was like, oh, it's a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Because they only drink coffee there, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I used to drink there all the time. That was my drinking spot because I've always lived so close to it too.
Yeah.
So yeah. By the way, also we were talking a little bit before. I want to mention. So I'm a little over 3 years sober now
3
too. I
years,
stopped
yeah.
drinking. Yeah,
Wow.
because I used to go to the place a lot, and I would like. I love that it was so close because I was like, I could just walk home if I have to. Like, I don't have to drive or anything like that, you know? But
Yeah.
I would go get hammered there.
It's the person who showed me where it was, like, before I ever worked there or anything, because I'm vegan, and so they used to, the first time I went there,
Oh, yeah.
it was all vegan food trucks.
Yeah.
And so she was like, oh, you're gonna love this place, and all
Yeah.
we did together was drink. And so I was like, hell yeah. And then you go and you tell me that's like $5 a drink, and I'm like, getting wasted for $30. It's
Yeah.
insanity.
$3 tap, yes please.
That's
I'm
what
there.
too. We had to, they raised some of the prices last year because their accountant was like, you have to do this.
Yes.
What the hell are you guys doing? Because at the end of the day, like, the owner is so cool. Like, he really wants it to be like a community center. And I used to think he was full of crap saying that.
Yeah.
And then, like, you actually get to know him, like, the things that he does kind of care about. And then you see the way people come there, and, like,
Yeah.
it really is for community. But
I mean, we do see a lot of the same people.
Right.
And people are coming there and, like, doing things together. Even that's not, like, a part of the shop. Like,
Yeah.
they come and join.
do their own thing.
Yeah,
Or then
exactly.
it'll
Yeah.
be something where, like, I think people used to come, and, like, some people do come and play games, and now it's turning into, like, they do a monthly Dungeons and Dragons thing that, like,
Oh.
I think they give them out, like, drink tickets and stuff like that. So where, like, it is almost kind of a thing, like, where it's not
that's cool.
technically
Like,
associated
unofficial?
with it. Yeah. But, like, we advertise it and stuff, so I'm like, it has to be
Right.
somewhat
Yeah,
official, but
Yeah.
also
Secret
it's
menu.
not an official place either.
Yeah.
So it's
I would love going there randomly, like not on my regular time, I guess, or whatever, or like schedule, and just walking into something that was happening, you know,
Yeah.
like whether it be a musical performance or like trivia or something. I'm like, man, this
Yeah.
place is so cool. They always have so much going on.
That's what I feel like. There used to be a little more things, but now I think too, it's so hard. I forget with summer, especially to me working mornings. I used to work the afternoons where you see a lot more going on, and so now I'm like, we never do anything anymore, and I'm realizing we do. I'm just not there for it.
Right. Yeah, same.
time.
Like with
Yeah.
my work schedule, I can never attend anything anymore because I'm always at work.
Exactly, and all the things that I used to do, because like I used to volunteer. They usually do it like once a month, but they do like trail cleanups.
Oh,
Yes.
that's so
And
cool.
I used to do that, and now I work those shifts, and I'm like, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I could just switch, but I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
The afternoons suck because it's so hot out.
It is.
Right, yeah.
So hot.
So yeah,
Yeah, summers are brutal here.
Oh
but
my god, this one particularly. My goodness.
Yeah, summer started. Summer starts before summer here. Like there's no-
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
It started
Hardly
what
a spring.
a week ago, but it's
Yeah.
been 95 degrees since May this year somehow. What the heck?
And what are you? You're not originally from Texas, right?
No, yeah, I'm from Florida. I'm born and raised in Orlando.
Okay.
So just super central Florida. And I feel like I'm really happy that, not happy, I guess. I don't want to say I'm happy. But I like it that I don't live there anymore.
Okay.
Because I'm like, okay, that was like a nice, normal place to grow up. I don't think, you go to the northern part of Florida, and that's basically the South. And I'm obviously really glad I didn't grow up in the South. I mean, no offense to anybody. I don't, no, I feel like, yeah, I can say this. I totally do not like Florida's politics or anything like that.
okay.
I feel like I have a really hard time here. But also, this is not permanent. I'm not going to die in Texas.
Yeah.
But, which I am scared to say because I know everyone from Texas takes it very seriously and like they're very happy to be from here. And I love that for everybody from
Yeah.
here. I love that you love it. But yeah, I was born and raised there. My friend's family moved our senior year of high school to North Carolina. So she lived with my family for our last year. And then so a week after high school graduation, we both moved to North Carolina to be with her family. Because I was like, I don't want to stay here. And then we were like this. Like, so I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And I moved to North Carolina for 2 years. And that was a little more, because I don't know if you guys know,
I know
there's
nothing about North Carolina.
I just hear really good things. Everyone always says it's beautiful, and I've heard about so many people going to North Carolina.
you hear, and I think there's a lot to do there in the sense that like they have mountains and they have cities and they have beach and like that's really cool. I think though, because we live there's like a part of the state. Where is it? I think it's in the middle of the state, honestly. Like I said, I'm from Florida. The education system's not great. And too, like
Texas is
you get
insane.
exactly that's how I feel. Is that I'm like, I could tell you where like Florida is. That's perfect on the map. Texas is easy. California is easy. I don't know. Like then you get into like people. I had no idea where Illinois was, and like my mom's from there, or like her family's from there. Or
Oh
whatever.
wow.
So I'm like, but anyway, yeah, North Carolina, there's a triangle and it has like 3 major universities. So it has the University of North Carolina, which is like the oldest public university in the country.
wow.
It's an incredible school. It's like a top 10 university.
Yeah, I think
Well,
Michael
then-
Jordan went there, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
I know that one.
Yeah. I don't know how I forgot that because everywhere you go there, it's like Michael Jordan, everything.
Oh really?
Well, because
makes
obviously, I mean, it's Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Like,
Psycho.
but I know my sister's like was a huge fan, and then like everyone just says he's not the nicest guy
I've
in the
heard,
world.
yeah.
But
I mean, but that ambition, my goodness.
I was about to say, I
You have
mean,
to
it's
be
also
crazy.
like he's not known for being nice. Like he's known
Yeah.
for being an incredible basketball player. So it's
Yeah, exactly.
I'll give him that. Whatever. Yeah. But yeah, so that was the goal, is to go to like, there's a bunch of universities there. There's Duke University, which is a private institution.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it's incredibly expensive, but it's like one of the top 5 universities in the whole country. And
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like people like literally travel here, like not here, but you know,
Yeah,
to
to-
There,
Duke
uh-huh.
to go there.
Yeah.
And the campus is gorgeous, and like that was something too, being from Orlando, like I'm sure there are other things. That's another thing. My parents didn't take me anywhere. So like
Oh,
I've never
really?
been to Key West, and it's like 4 hours, 5 hours south or whatever,
Oh.
6 hours south. Like I've only been to Miami because my friend that I was like this with, she's
Yeah.
from Miami.
Oh,
And
wow.
so North Carolina, whatever. That was we just lived in like the outskirts of Chapel Hill, which is already just really a college town
Yeah.
because you don't need anything outside of like the university
Yeah.
there. And especially when you have 3 like all right there that are major universities. And I was like, oh, this is a little backwoodsy for me, I feel like, which again is cool that people like that. But I was like, no, I've always wanted
Okay.
to move to California, and I was like, it's never going to happen. But I always told my dad, or New York City, but I'm like, I can't afford to live in New York City.
yeah.
That's a
That's a
wild
big one.
place.
And so we did 2 years in North Carolina, and then my friend and I moved back to Florida, and I was like, and I went to community college for 2 years. And it was cool. Like, I had 2 of the greatest teachers I've ever had there.
Nice.
And it's so incredible when you have a teacher who's so intelligent, and you can tell, and they're so passionate about what they teach, and then they love just telling you about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also had one of the worst teachers ever. My chemistry professor there is one of the smartest people I've ever met. She's brilliant. I feel like her brain will be studied, but she can't teach for anything.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and it's not even just a me. I grew up, like, school was always really easy for me. So then once you got to, like, college, I was like, oh, I don't want to study. And it's like, you have to study. But I was like, oh, but I don't want to, so I'm not going to. And so I'm like, I don't understand how I'm not doing well in the classes. But then I was like, so it's just a me thing. But then everybody in that class wasn't. So I was like, oh, she really is a
Oh,
bad
okay.
teacher.
Yeah.
But she's a brilliant woman. So shout out to her.
Wow.
I don't remember her name, but then I moved back down to Florida for the summer. And I was like, talking to my friend, and I was like, and two, we had lived with her family. And I feel like her parents had really been, because I basically lived with them in Florida before they even moved. And so, like, because my parents are super hands-off and everything, which, like, now me getting to be whoever I am and whoever I want to be is, like, really nice. I appreciate that in my parents. But also, you know, I feel bad for my friend's parents basically having to take in this kid that they didn't ask for, you know? And it's like, it's nice that, like, I helped them out and, like, whatever. My friend and I did we did the laundry and the dishes, and we helped out with her little siblings. So, like, it's not the end of the world or anything, but, like, now that I am an adult and I pay for things on my own, I'm like, thank God they could afford me as an extra meal 3 times a day. Like, they started taking me on trips with them, like, and I know that's not cheap. And so, and so I'm thankful for them. But then it got to the point where I think they were very over that. And I'm looking back now, I'm like, that's fair. I mean, and so I was like, yeah, I'm not going back. I don't care. I don't even want to be in school right now. I don't know what I want to do. Like, and then my sister was like, well, I'm actually going to move to San Francisco in a few months. Do you guys want to come with me? And I was like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. Oh my God. And so I moved out to San Francisco, and I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just, that's why too, when people like, and even here, I feel like you get it a lot because a lot of people are not from Austin.
Yeah.
Or even if you are from Austin, like, let's say people, like, I'm turning 30 this year. So my friend who I know from here, born and raised here, her family's lived down the street forever. And I'm like, the changes that you must have seen throughout, because like the changes I've seen in the 5 years I've been here versus the changes my sister's seen in the 10 years she's been here, versus Austin used to be a college town. Super small city, like, and so now it being like how big it is, I'm like, that's so crazy. But so people always talk like, they're like, and my family lives in upstate New York, and they're always like called me a city girl, and I'm from like the suburbs, and so I'm like, I wish I was a city girl. I'd love to live in the city. So moving out to San Francisco, I was like, this is every single thing I wanted. This is like just, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was just so incredible. And like, that's why too, and I know everyone in Texas hates Californians and stuff like that. And it's just like, I don't get what's to hate. Like, obviously, yeah, like the people with the money, but I'm like, that's so not California to me. I feel like, I don't know, just cities. There's a reason certain people like cities, I feel like, and there's a certain reason other people don't. And it always seems to be people who I don't necessarily want to associate myself with. They'll just say things where like I'm vegan, right? In San Francisco, I don't think anybody would care about that. No, it wouldn't be a conversation. And like, some people are annoying, but it's just like, oh, okay, whatever. Whereas here, it's always like
A thing.
Really?
all the time. And I'm just like, I didn't even bring it up. Like, you brought it up. Or, like, someone else is always bringing it up. And, well, I brought it up today.
No, that's fine.
Because it is, too. Like, I do like to talk about it. Because, like, it is a part of me. And it's, like, obviously, like, almost not a religion. I don't want to say that. But, I mean, it's
a lifestyle.
A lifestyle. Like, as I say, it literally guides a lot of the things I do. Guides every single thing I buy and stuff like that. But, yeah, San Francisco. But my only thing with San Francisco is too cold for me because I'm from Florida.
Oh, wow.
It was the only time in my life I've ever worn a jacket on 4th of July, and I'm not even patriotic, and I was like, this feels un-American. And I used to spend 4th of July's in New York and stuff, and so yeah. But then, so my friend in San Francisco, we moved down to LA.
Oh, okay.
And then my sister lived in Austin, and I think too, when I was like, oh, I don't know what you have bad to say about California, it's LA. LA sucks.
That's
yeah.
where it's bad. Okay.
It's so beautiful. The food there is incredible. I think
Yeah.
it's just all the stereotypes. I mean,
Yeah.
Of the people.
yeah, because
Okay.
you think about it too, and like I admire the people there in the sense that like a lot of people go there for a purpose. So I think it was hard for me to be there without a purpose. I was like, I love California, and my friend was willing to move here with me. I wanted to move to like an hour and a half south to Huntington Beach, which is like, I feel like so that is something like you guys would probably love Huntington Beach because it's just so chill and you're right on the beach. You're in California, you used to get all the beauty of California.
Yeah.
With everyone just surfs there. I feel like that's the stereotypical.
Yeah,
like the
I
further
heard
south you
that's
go,
a pretty good one.
that's what. Yeah,
Well, it's like it's south or it's north.
yeah.
Would
And
totally
it's
be a
like-
beach bum.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it would totally
so
be
nice.
beach bums for sure.
Because it's just like you still have to do like I'm sure it's really expensive to live down there. I mean,
Yes, it is.
I'd imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
And like everyone down there has money. But my friend had just finished graduated college, and so I wanted to go back to college, and so that's why I was like, Huntington's gonna be perfect. And we went and visited, and she was like, I'm not. What am I supposed to do here? Like, I already have my degree. I'm not going back to school yet. Like. And so it's like, that's fair. So we moved to LA, and then I just lived 15 miles from where I worked because I worked on the beach, which was really sick. I worked at a hotel though, so it's like,
Oh, cool.
it's not like I did stuff on the beach. That would be
Yeah.
cool, but and it was just something where it's like if I didn't leave by 5:25 in the morning, my 30-minute drive to work would then turn into an hour with that
Oh,
5-minute difference.
Yeah.
And like then I started picking up shifts on the rooftop, which was cool. But then it's just that where it's like anywhere it's just so weird to go from LA to here because that's what I was so done with you have to dress up to go anywhere. Like everything's this whole big event or like everyone's judging everybody and like the people are there for a reason, but I'm like, why am I dealing with all this when I'm not? I don't want to be a producer. I don't want to be an actor. I don't want to be a singer. I don't want to do any of this.
Yeah.
And so then my sister was like, just move here. Like, you should move here. And my sister and I are really close. And so she's like, you should move here and save money. You can leave if you want, but whatever. And then, so I moved here. And then we lived together for a year. And she fell in love. And if I'm allowed, no, I'm sure I know, they're lesbians. So those stereotypes are also another thing that are so freaking real, sorry.
It's okay, no worries.
But, you know, they move pretty quickly.
Yes.
So I was like, so I
right,
got
yeah.
to, and
I
then
was like, which
too,
ones?
yeah, they move very quickly.
Cool.
And so, COVID though. I moved here January 2020.
Oh, yeah.
So the whole saving money thing never actually happened
Oh, man.
because I didn't work. I worked for 2 months.
Yeah.
Didn't make any money because the place I worked sucked. And then COVID happened, and I don't know, I'm so 50-50 because like I'm literally FaceTiming because I didn't have any friends here. I only knew my sister. And so I'm FaceTiming with my friends 24/7 back in California, and they're just sitting there making $3,600 a month on unemployment and like ordering Uber Eats. And I'm like, well, I did get my $1,200 from the government.
Yeah.
And my sister was like, okay, obviously I'm not gonna make you pay rent. Like she just asked me to split like the utilities still. So I think in total, those 3 months that I wasn't working because of COVID, I think I gave her maybe $400. So like in that sense, like I'm lucky in the sense that I didn't have like an apartment on my own here.
Yeah.
But then I wasn't making any money. And then she got tired of that real quick too, because my sister and I love her. We get along really great. We're very different. And like, so I'm like drinking all the time during COVID and like, I'm just on FaceTime with my friends. I want to like do sing-alongs and stupid stuff. And my sister's like trying to take me on hikes. And I'm like, it's hot. It's disgusting here. And she's like trying to work out. But like she's also cut down on work. But she worked at a hospital. So like she still went sometimes to work. But like I feel like her not getting to do what she needed to do was like.
Yeah.
And then she's like, so you need to get a job again, actually, Kaley. So then I did go back to work. But then she fell in love and I moved out on my own. But it's really cool because I could not live on my own in LA.
Right, yeah.
So I'll give Austin that. I think Austin is really expensive, but technically, I mean, we can live alone here, which is nice.
Yeah.
I pay what I paid to live alone here, I was paying to live with a roommate in LA.
Yeah, I've seen that, dude. And like New York too. It's kind of the same thing. Like what you pay to live alone here, you're paying to live in like a bedroom.
Literally.
in New York.
One of my best friends in LA, she just got normal size apartment, you guys. I think it's like 450 square feet. She was paying.
That's small too.
I don't even. That's what I mean. So I'm like, and that's an upgrade. Her old apartment, usually stay in bigger hotel rooms, and I don't stay in nice hotel rooms by any means. I'm cheap. I don't need to be that comfortable. I just need to be somewhere safe to sleep.
Yeah.
But she lived, and she didn't have a kitchen. And so her apartment, I thought she bought this for herself. No, her apartment complex was nice enough to give her little like hot plates.
Oh my God.
Like you take camping.
Yeah.
And so she had to, when she used those, she had to do her dishes in the kitchen or in the bathroom because in her tub, because she doesn't, like that's how small it was. Like she literally had her queen bed.
Man.
Like I think the inside without the balcony, I think it was 200 square feet.
Oh my God.
And she was paying $1,800 a month, I think, for it. I'll tell you, she is like 10, 15 minutes from the beach.
Yeah.
So like she lives in Santa Monica, which was really sick, but I was like, and you go visit and I'm like, well, this is fun staying with you because you can't escape me. We're right here, baby.
Yeah.
But
intense.
I was just like, how are you doing this? But she needed it and it was so, she's somebody who just is the greatest thing that has ever existed on the planet. And she's just so smart and she has such a positive attitude and she did so much with the space.
Wow.
And then I go visit and I come home to my apartment that I hate and so she's coming to visit. I'm like, dude, you need to help me because how did you do so much? You made it so cute. You fit so much. And I just have random stuff everywhere. It makes no sense. And like, but yeah. And I just am like, oh, it's just crazy. But at least, whatever. I have my apartment and.
But I mean, you've been around quite a bit. It seems
Yeah.
like, huh?
Went to a few different
travel in
places.
the last,
Yeah.
Within what was that like time frame? Within like a decade?
10 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which is so weird that it's been 10 whole years, and it's also weird that how's it only been 10 years?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that was, like, me living in Florida I don't even feel like the same person. I'm like, because I was too, I don't know if you guys, I don't know that many people would use the word, like, shy to describe me, and I'm not, like, the most quiet person anymore, but I feel like that's because I was so quiet and, like, such a wallflower, or I feel that way.
Yeah.
I feel like I was, and, like, I didn't really do things, and so, yeah. But it wasn't also, like, I'm such a middle ground, like, it's also not like I was bullied or anything like that. Like,
Right.
I didn't have the bad high school or growing up or anything, and I always had friends, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Florida, I don't know. And it's also, like, maybe my parents, like, not really taking me to do stuff, so, like, when people
I was
talk
gonna
about
say,
Florida, I'm
yeah,
like,
you were just at home all the time.
that's
like,
what, I was always at my friend's house, always at my
Okay.
cousin's house, and so, like, I was always, like, doing things, but just, like, my cousins, they were like, oh, you're so lucky you get to go to the theme parks all the time, and I'm like, you think, that's so fun that you think my parents take me there.
Yeah.
Well,
oh,
which-
that's right. They have what Disney World and Universal
Yeah.
Studios out there, right?
Those are, like, the two big ones. I feel like there are other little ones. I mean, there's, like, SeaWorld.
Oh yeah,
Horrible
SeaWorld.
place, horrible
I always
place.
forget about that place.
Horrible place, but then it also sucks, too, because it's also, like, the cheapest theme park. So then it's, like, there's
really?
so many things
know
that, like, I took my younger sibling when I was, like, 18. My friend and I came back home for that summer, and I was like, oh, well, I want to be a cool big sister. And I'm like, well, I can't afford Disney or Universal, so I'll take you to SeaWorld. And now it's not funny saying it, but now I'm, like, vegan, and so I'm like, super anti-SeaWorld, of course.
Yeah. And so you took the vegan route for ethical reasons.
It's funny because I feel like the person, my best friend who I moved from San Francisco to LA with, it's so funny now too. That's what I mean is like, I feel the Kaley that people know in Austin, it is me. Like, this isn't a facade I put on, I swear. But it's just so funny because everyone who's ever known me before this is like, I was one of those people that was like, why would you eat a meal without meat? What's the point of the meal? Like, I didn't eat vegetables at all. Like,
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And, like, I was a picky kid growing up. My parents, too. That's what I'm like, we ate the same 5 things all week, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so, that's what, moving to San Francisco, I'm like, there's more than just white people and McDonald's and Chili's. You know what I mean? And, like, it sounds so stupid, but, like, it's San Francisco somewhere, too, where they try... I think it's obviously so expensive too to have real estate there.
Yeah.
But like the chains are really kind of more outside the city. So like you have to try a lot of mom and pop places. And I was like, I thought it was something where I was like, Mexican food to me was Chipotle. when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That makes sense, though. I mean,
Yeah.
you wouldn't know. How would
Your
you know?
area.
Yeah.
How would you know otherwise?
But my friend who I moved with, she was vegan, vegetarian. She's always been since she was like 12. She's been on this journey. So like
Really?
really in her adulthood, she really went for the veganism, and she's been vegan forever now. But when I knew her, she was vegetarian, and I told her like she'll say little things here and there. And I love it sometimes because she is the reason too that I feel like I am who I am, because like she will test you, but like she doesn't force you to do anything. I feel like the way she was, she'll say little things, and so whatever, it'd be something like, I told her, I was like, well, I eat meat, obviously, and like, I'm not gonna stop. And she's like, yeah, whatever, like, it sucks, but like, I know you, I love you, we're gonna move together, it's gonna be fun. And then like, it'd be something where like, I'd cook cause she worked, let's say she worked during the day, so I'd be cooking, and then she'd come home, and she'd be like, oh, you cooked meat in here earlier. And I had the windows open for 5 hours, and I was like, how are you even smelling it? Because it's something I don't even smell. Like, you smell it when you cook it, but I'm like, that was hours ago. And so I told her March 2018, I was like, I'm going to do meatless March. And she was like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing ever. And I did it. And after the month, like, I was like, wow, I feel incredible. Like, I feel so much lighter than I normally do.
Yeah.
And so then once a month, I was like, I feel like she's like, what are you thinking? Like, do you want to go back? Or like, she's like, you too. Like, she's like, you don't have to completely cut it out. Like, she's like, you do whatever you want. And so I was like, okay, so once a month for the next year and a half, I would eat meat once a month. And then I would be vegetarian the rest of the month. So then I was like, I feel like I'm getting the best of both worlds here. Like, so then, cause then too, the meat industry is just so harmful to the environment. And I was like, okay, so I'm doing it because I feel great. And now I'm like, oh, well, it's better for the environment. And then I was like, I don't really care about the animals. Like, they're just an added bonus. And then everybody online, I always see people being like, if you don't do it for the animals, you're not doing it for the right reasons. And I'm like, I think that's so harmful to say, because of course, that's where I am now. Now, people, just like my friend, she's like, if you keep this up, like, once you get to it, she's like, it's gonna be for the animals. And then I was just like, whatever, I don't really care right now. And then you get more into your veganism, and you learn more, and I'm like, well, now I can't go back. What about the animals?
Yeah, definitely can see that.
But it's
totally
also,
understand.
it's so hard too, because it's just like, I feel like there are sometimes too, when I talk about it, I love being vegan. I think I'll be vegan forever, but like, I also think I understand life happens and things happen, and something like that, where too, people, when they talk about like, oh, you're not getting the right this, that, or the other thing, and it's like, that's something I'm finally starting to like look at and actually try to care about. But it's hard because like, I didn't care before, and I was like, and nobody was saying anything to me when all I was eating was actual chicken tenders and fries all day, every day. And eating, my vegetables were like the tomatoes and pico at Chipotle. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm giving Chipotle too many free shout outs. Bleep this out.
I don't know if they'll catch wind of this, but yeah, you never know.
I like that feel though.
But I'm like, I'm not trying to give out any free promo to any corporation. But but I feel like it is just, it is weird.
The labels.
Where people, I'm like, I definitely wasn't getting enough vitamins, enough anything.
Right.
Whereas, sure, maybe my protein was super, I had my protein, but I can assure you I was not getting anything else I needed.
A lot of other additives.
Exactly. And that's what people like, now I'm trying to get more out of the fake meat too, but that was such an easy way. Like when you hear about people who too were vegan before or vegetarian before, or like the people who have been for the last like 30 years, I'm like, how did you do this?
Yeah.
Because if you had not been able to bribe me with like Impossible Meat or something like that, like and Just A, I don't think I could have done it when like.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, those replacements are definitely really helpful.
Yeah, and so it's just, and now I am
Yeah.
Like,
now you're in it. You feel
now I'm in
pretty
it and I'm
solid
like,
in it.
okay, maybe I shouldn't be eating all this. Because at the end of the day, it is still processed stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And so, like,
completely.
now I'm actually starting. But now I actually, like, for the last 4 years, like, I actually eat vegetables and like them.
Yeah.
And enjoy them.
Okay.
And, like,
So more like
just stuff like that. Yeah.
natural stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah. Dude, it's
trying.
hard. My goodness.
I think it's like the best is the least amount of processed foods as possible. Like whole natural foods is the best thing. So
Right.
whether it's vegetables or meat, like it's, that's
And-
going to be the best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what, too, is like, I think, too, and this is why I always get scared to say it because I'm like, and like, luckily there aren't other vegans here to say it, but like, it's the people online who just like, they're so mean and they're like, if you're not this kind of vegan, you don't do it this way. And like, then it's, and I'm like, you're just making people not want to do it at all or not even try it. And like,
or
and-
judgmental ones.
exactly, where it's just, and like, I'm not gonna sit here and say like, I personally one day want to have a farm and have a cow and kill it and eat it.
Yeah.
Because I really do like being vegan and I think I always will be. But I personally don't feel like I can shit on somebody for doing that.
Yeah.
Somebody who lives out in Bastrop and
Yeah.
eats their own eggs from the chickens that they raise. And
Yeah.
like, again, I don't necessarily want to do that. But like, I don't think that's harmful to the environment.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not you sticking them in. And like, too, the people who, I don't know. Everything pisses me off because then people are like, oh, well, love to tell me like, oh, I eat free range. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. Like you could stick 6 chickens in here and because they're not technically in a cage, you can call them free range.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just stuff like that.
Yeah,
No,
for sure.
totally
Was-
understand. I was that
yeah.
preachy. I converted one person. And they became incredibly ruthless with their information. And
You taught him well.
it was all over Facebook and we were in the groups and like that was such a toxic environment.
I think it's something too where like my views politically, let's say I'm super leftist. Like you could almost call me a socialist, I feel like. But then I feel like socialism actually like takes away individualism sometimes. And I'm not for that, obviously. But like, I don't think it's a crazy thought that we all contribute to society. And I feel like now we're all such individuals, which is cool. I want everyone to be whoever they are. I don't know why I think we all fight all the time because we're all trying to shove it down each other's throats.
Yeah.
Whereas like we have more in common than we think. But that's what I just feel like anything you go to is just, like I'm vegan, but again, I think you could take veganism too far. My sister is a Christian, and I'm not religious at all or anything, but I think too, like I'm okay. That's cool if you're atheist. I feel like I've met so many atheist people though that I feel like are the exact same as all the Christian people I grew up with who are like, you're gonna go to hell if you don't do this, that, and the other thing. And then I feel like other atheists are like, well, you're a stupid idiot, moron, loser if you even possibly think in anything that doesn't make any sense. And it's just like,
It's not helpful.
no, what do
None
you
of it's
care?
helpful.
Yeah. Like my sister is so like, she just minds her business. Her and her wife live, again, she's gay too. So I'm like, all these things that she's had to deal with and stuff like that, where I'm like, she doesn't ever shove it down my throat. They'll be like, hey, if you ever do want to come to church with us on, like, they usually only invite me because they know I don't want to go every weekend. I'll go with them on the holidays, like if they want, like, but stuff like that where they're like, yeah, you can if you want. And it's like, when we're together, we don't talk about it and stuff like that. And so I feel like that's what I had a coworker. I worked at this vegan food truck and it only lasted 3 months because it was so greasy. I love the food, but too, I swear to God, I must have gained like 20 pounds working there because I was working at the place I work, they opened a second location and had a vegan kitchen, but it was plowed.
We remember that.
Yeah. So it had that. So I was eating that all the time. It was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
They did not
ever
have
have
any
one?
vegetables.
We did.
We had some,
went. Yeah. I think we got wings and burgers.
Oh, that's
there.
right. We would try to get the wings
Yeah.
too. Yeah, 'cause we were pretty
The
excited about
pea-based
that.
ones, I do like those.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I don't know. I feel like I don't like anything vegans like. Like, I'm trying.
You don't like the wings?
I'm finally starting to, because I'm like, they don't taste. I don't actually miss it, but I do miss it. I miss chicken wings, and
was my thing too.
They're so different. I haven't had anything that is the same. Like, I want to chew it, rip it off the bone. Like,
It's so funny.
Have you
so
done the
like,
mushrooms? No, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, no.
that's what I haven't. I've seen people. Well, actually, I I think it was soy
I think
paper.
it was like
But
oyster mushrooms or something.
that's what I want to try, but also I can't cook.
I haven't
And
had those,
so-
but I hear they're like the closest ones.
Yeah, I need to try because, but like too, because I don't like mushrooms. But there is this brand that is called Meaty, Meati,
I think I've had
and they are made from mushroom root. And that steak,
Oh.
that is the closest thing to actual steak I've ever had. I'm like,
Really?
all right, I love it. Once they get more saturated and stuff, I'm like waiting for the prices to go down.
Yeah.
Because, well, too, that's like, everyone loves to tell me they're like, oh, being vegan's so expensive. And I'm like, I see what you're saying, but like, if I buy a pound of Beyond Meat, I feel like I spend $6 to $7 on it. And I'm like, it's been a few years, but I swear I was spending about that, maybe $1 or $2 less. But like, which obviously when you
No,
if
they
you
were
have
definitely
kids or
comparable, yeah.
families
Yeah.
or whatever, $2 does make a difference. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I
Yeah.
also used to pay $6 a pound for
Right.
a beef. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't understand that whole thing. But
I think for a little bit it was a little cheaper, but yeah, it pretty much equaled out, and yeah, and then everything went up, of course. So yeah, it's just,
well, yeah. Now I'm like, I feel like you can't even. People talk to me about anything with pricing. I'm like, nothing. Since
Everything's
COVID,
expensive.
since especially in Austin, I feel like it's just like everybody moving here, myself included. Sorry, guys.
okay. I mean, yeah,
No, I'm newish too.
She
I've been
recently
here.
3 years, 2 years,
Yeah, no, 3.
3.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
3.5,
but
I
not
guess.
from very far away, but
No.
still.
Oh, okay.
Central Texas. I mean, I've been in Texas a long time.
Yeah.
So,
Gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha.
It's so funny because being that Texas is such a huge state, even like, 'cause I'm from El Paso, Texas, you know, far as west as you can get, Texas. And moving over here, I was doing some volunteer work and I was talking to some guy and I was like, yeah, it's really interesting being over here in like East Texas. And then he kind of chuckled. He's like, that's funny that you would call it East Texas. And I was like, why? He's like, well, where are you from? And I was like, El Paso. He's like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, well, are you going to tell me what's wrong with it? Like, you never gave me that. I was kind of pissed off about
Yeah.
it too. I was like, what's the joke? What am I missing here, dude?
It's past Austin. This is Central Texas.
Right. Yeah. See, I did.
Yeah.
I was completely unaware. I mean, Texas
Yeah.
education system, public education. Dude, I always miss, I guess, label like upstate and stuff like that. You know, if people are talking about like Iowa or Ohio or something like that, I'm like, yeah, upstate, and it's like, no, that's not upstate. It's like more towards New York and places like that. You know, but I'm like, it's up
That's what
country. Like, what do you mean?
That's what I think people don't get it. And I'm like, where are you from? But then sometimes it's people from here because I'm like, you're from Texas. Everywhere is north of me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm from Florida. Everywhere is north of me. Like,
Yes.
but
So
then it's
whatever.
too. My cousins used to always say, like, they'll be like, oh, when are you coming back down here? They live in New York. And I'm like, don't go down anywhere.
Oh my, I'm the same way. Yeah.
And then I used to, but they always did it every year. They always have, like, my whole life. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so does the education system suck everywhere? Do you guys not know where Florida is? Like,
I mean, it's just all about our perspective, right? And I think once people realize that, the better we'll get along. But you know,
true.
it's like, hey, we're not idiots. It's just we were taught differently, or we have a different point of view. That's
Yeah.
all. Like, chill out.
But maybe that's just the thing that everyone says. Like, come down and visit. Like, come on down here. Maybe that's just what it is.
What an interesting
Yeah.
point.
And that's just
That's
like a
a-
colloquialism.
Yeah.
Also, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
That makes so
come
much
on
sense.
down.
Yeah.
But that
Wow.
also
Okay, you
seems
see, I'm
southern,
negative.
though.
We're like fucking idiots. Like,
That
you're
seems
so
southern,
dumb,
though.
and you're like, oh, but it's kind of
does
like
seem
the
a little
saying, "Come on down," and I'm like, oh, it is.
Yeah.
You're
No.
so right. You're
No,
so
they're
right.
dumb. They're dumb. I stand by that.
I'm firm.
Or like my favorite one, we touched on a little bit. I guess this is so off topic now, but
I also
Calling-
talk like that. I'm so sorry.
it's fine. No, yeah, I'm the same way.
Should've warned you guys.
Calling women, particularly younger women or whatever, ma'am, you know, because I'm just trying to be polite, you know. That's
Oh,
how
yeah.
I was raised,
Yeah.
and that's how you speak
Manners.
to people that you don't know, you're not familiar with.
Yeah.
Ma'am, sir, you know, things like that.
Is that a Southern thing?
I don't know if it's a Southern thing, but like that's just kind of how I
Yeah.
understood. That's how we're supposed to interact
Yeah.
with each other. I don't know.
I don't know for a fact because, again, people, my friends in California, like, people, they're like, oh, you're from Florida. And so, like, I had a coworker in San Francisco who was from Louisiana, I think. So that's Southern. Like, that is literally part of the South, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like, back when there were only 13 colonies or whatever. And I'm like, Florida was acquired in what, like, middle of the 1800s, I think, or something like that. So, I mean, like, it's not the South. And then my friends are like, do you know where Florida is? I'm like, Okay,
not
but
the
it's
same,
crazy, and I
yeah.
tell people all the time, I'm like, if I said I was from Miami, would you tell me I was from the South?
Right,
Absolutely
right.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Miami is a whole other place.
Yeah.
That is Cuba. That is Cuban territory in the U.S.
And
I was wondering if you had like, because you were like, I hadn't had real Mexican food, but I was like, well, you've had like Latin food or.
Well, that's the thing,
Had to,
because
yeah.
not until high school, and then I became really close friends with my friend who, her stepdad is also Cuban. She's Cuban. Her mom is white. Her dad's Cuban. Her stepdad is also Cuban now.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That's another thing. People, and like white people get offended. Like when they're like, because like white people can't cook,
Yeah.
right? It's a stereotype. Obviously, stereotypes are going to be true on some level. They're just
Right.
stupid on
Yeah.
another level. That's the whole point of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And my dad, when my dad taught me how to cook chicken, he literally taught me how to like rinse off the chicken breast, put it on the pan, put it in the oven. I'm not forgetting. I'm not telling you guys like I'm not
You're not
leaving
forgetting
out like you can pick your own spices. What are spices?
Yeah.
We had salt and pepper. And I'm sure my mom, like, maybe she was a little better about it, but I lived with my dad for most of my life. And so, like, my mom didn't teach me anything ever, I swear. And so, like, that's my dad teaching me. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think white people can cook.
Simple
So I thought my whole life growing up, too. Again, obviously.
see, okay,
Some of
some
Gordon Ramsay's
Southern-
white.
Yeah, but
Quality. Like, they can cook,
well,
obviously.
they're European and they did like they had drastic measures, right? That's why they have wild plates and like weird mashups and stuff.
Is that
But he
what
also
happened?
went
Yeah.
to school.
I don't know.
But
Yeah.
like you're saying, Florida's not southern, so that's why those white people can't cook. Because I think some southern white
folks
people
can cook
can
really well.
cook, right?
That I think you can tell too, like when you see it's just certain things too where like all the food is different too.
Yeah.
Where like people you talk about southern food and it's like I don't really feel like I ate southern food. Like my family, there's a spot in I know it's definitely a chain in Florida, but it's called Sonny's Barbecue. I don't know how far they go out or anything, but like but that's my dad. Every year still, like, where do you want to go for your birthday? And I went back home and like I saw there's more mom and pop places. My dad wants to go to Outback Steakhouse every single year for his birthday.
Nice. It's a good one.
Yeah, like bloomin' onion.
It's just and like yeah, that's
That
cool.
thing's
But I'm like,
spicy.
that's my dad's level of like, yeah, like this is cool. This
That's
is nice.
fine
Like we're
dining.
eating out,
Yeah,
yeah. And then I'm just like, okay, like cool.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I used to love Applebee's as a kid. My dad and I would go all the time. Wasn't a Chili's dude. Never knew anything about Chili's until
Yeah.
I moved out here and finally went to Chili's.
We went to the
but
Chili's first time like a couple years ago.
yeah, you and I did it together. Yeah. But it was Applebee's the whole time. For me
Yeah.
growing up. Yeah. I loved it. I loved their little was it 69? I don't remember.
Their
But yeah, little
steaks.
ribeye. Yeah, I would get
Yeah.
the same thing every time.
With the butter on top and the baked
You
potato,
get
probably.
you go to these chain restaurants and you just get the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what somebody was saying that. I was like, I don't get why you would choose that. And then other people, which is so weird that I'm like, I don't understand that when I'm such a particular picky person. So it's like, someone was like, well, I think they like that. It's going to taste the same. You could get it in Texas. You could get it in
Yeah.
Florida. You
Yeah.
could get it wherever.
It's
and
safe.
it tastes the same.
It sucks to go somewhere and then you get something and you're kind of like, oh, I'm going to try this. I hope it's good. And it's not. And you're like, oh, I should have just
Oh,
got
yeah.
what I know is good.
Yeah.
That is the worst. Yeah, it's
It's the
devastating.
Because too, then it's like you don't go out to eat all the time because it's like that's not financially really
Yeah.
Right.
within my means at least. And
Yeah.
I just assume we're all broke. And
I mean, basically.
Just the other day.
Yeah.
This past Sunday, right? We
Yeah.
we were both craving chili dogs. And like, well, where do we go in town to get a chili dog? Don't
Yeah.
know, other than like Wiener
It
Schnitzel.
was hard to choose
And
one.
we thought of a place. We were like, okay, we're going to go. Then my car broke down that day.
Yeah.
So I was stuck on the side of the road for hours with a
Yeah.
very nice young man that was kind enough to just to go out of his way and help me out, and yeah, he was just, he
Great
stayed there for
information, good
hours. Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
But
Wow.
of course I was like on edge, I was like very upset about it. And I was like, I don't even want the chili dog anymore. I was like, let's go somewhere familiar. I want something
Yeah,
safe.
something's going to be good.
like I literally cannot even handle another letdown today.
Yeah.
Like, where it'd be like then it does seem ridiculous because it's like you get this chili dog and it's like this isn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
that.
You're already dealing with hard things. And yeah.
Oh, that's like
So
too.
rude.
I'll like make plans and then like something will happen at work and I have to tell people I'm like, you don't want me there today. It's okay. We'll do this another time. I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
Aw,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah, but it's too balance again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll use anything and be like, oh, I think I was thinking I was gonna get a headache later on today, so maybe we should cancel. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's crazy.
I personally I have been the worst at like making plans way ahead of time, and then when it comes time to go, I'm like, damn it. I do not want to go anymore. And I'm like, this is why I don't do things. This is why I don't make plans with people. Because I know I don't want to go, and now I have to go and put on a smile and be so excited to be there.
And it's something that I have these two friends that I met here at the other location that I used to work at, and we're still friends, and we're in our group chat, and like, I literally don't know what I would do without, like, if they weren't so understanding, because I always cancel. And then if I don't always cancel, one of them cancels. And honestly, I miss them, and we're going to hang out eventually. Like, we always do. But I'm like, oh, sometimes it's so nice because I'm like, I can't cancel again. Like, I don't want to be that person and, like, not show up or whatever. But then I find I'm having a meltdown all the time because I'm like, I don't want to do this right now.
Yes.
And I think, too,
wanna chill.
I went, because, like, as a kid, too, and I also... Well, because I was telling somebody at work the other day, I was like, you really can't tell me to do anything. Like, or if that's a surefire way to get me to not do something, right? Tell me to do it.
Okay.
And I tell people, I'm like, which is obviously not real, but because I'm 30, I'm a grown up.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I blame my parents. They never told me what to do, so who the heck are you to tell me what to do? Is how I felt. And like,
That makes a lot of sense.
but then someone said the other day too, they were like, well, you think about it too, as a kid, you're always told what to do. Like, you can't, as a kid, you don't make any decisions. And so I think maybe as an adult, I feel like then once you're an adult, people throw you out into the real world and they're like, well, you're an adult now.
Make
And it's like,
decisions.
what do you mean? You
Choices,
never taught me how to make a decision, never taught me critical thinking. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to do anything.
Yeah. That's the biggest one, is critical thinking
Yeah.
in like public schools.
Dude.
It's not
Solving.
really taught at all.
It's honestly punished, I think.
Yeah,
Whenever
absolutely.
you are not. They want you to be quiet and they want you to be good at this kind of schooling,
Right.
and which is so harmful too, because like my best friend at the time, like I said, like I'm super, and she's so intelligent, but like also I think she definitely has more strengths in like art related things, or it's just like, what is it, like left brain, right lane. So like I'm more like, I love numbers. Like I want to read, you just
Okay.
tell me this. I don't want to be creative. I don't want to have to think about it. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it or whatever. Like not in a bossy way, but just like math, right? Whereas like I'll always excel in a math class, and then it's like I took as much art as was required.
Right.
Like how I feel about PE too. I'm like, I did what I had to, but then I'll do like any other anything else.
Yeah.
Like I
Give me something to count.
literally, if I could have taken like accounting, I feel like I totally would have.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only math class I've ever taken that I didn't like was stats. I took AP stats
wow.
in high school, and
Yeah.
I was like, well, that makes sense. I don't like it because it's not a math class, it's an English class. Why am I having to explain all of this? Explain
Yeah.
the graph. What do you mean? Just look at the graph.
Yeah.
Read
funny.
it. It's already there.
Yeah. Clearly, I would not be a great teacher, but
What do you mean this doesn't make
So
sense?
what did
Yeah.
you want to be?
I don't know. I feel like I'm realizing now that everything I feel like I've always wanted to be is some variation of helping people. But I think when you're younger, I think my family leans, not to keep bringing up politics, but I think they lean more like they're kind of Republican, or at least when I was growing up. They just never talked about politics, so I never really thought about it. But when I was 13, when I was in 8th grade, that was 2008, which was the election with Obama and McCain. And so my aunt was really the only person, her and her husband were the only two people that really ever talked about politics. and it's all fine. I feel like I can look back and laugh at it now because, so like they're Republicans. So I was like, well, my family's Republican, so I'm Republican. And so I was like, too, if you look anything up, you look up good things about McCain and you'll find good things about McCain. You look up bad things about Obama, you'll find bad things about Obama. But you know what? I obviously have very different views now, but I've still looked back at myself and I'm super proud because our like history teacher or whatever, she split the class and she's like, okay, everyone for Obama on this side, everyone for McCain on this side. And like it was all planned and everything, so we all knew this was gonna happen. But Obama being black too, like everybody, I feel like that was when I was 13. I'm like, okay, but you only like him because he's black, and that's cool. That I don't think I really thought about diversity as much either, because again, people think like because I'm people think the South or whatever. I'm sure, obviously, people who are not white, like the kids that I went to school with, obviously have a very different view because they are Black and Asian and Hispanic and all of everything else. And like, I feel like I went up to visit my family in upstate New York one time, and my cousin was like, how many Black people go to your school? And I was like, what?
Why is that a question?
How would you even think of that question? But then I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, do you count all the Black people at your school? Like, that's weird, right? And then I'm thinking, I'm like, that doesn't feel right. Like, what do you mean? But it's then too, I'm realizing because they go to school with like 200 people. So when there's literally one Black girl that went to school with them. Oh, shit. And I'm like, now I think about that and I'm like, this poor fucking girl, oh my gosh. Yeah. But I'm like, no, that's not, and I went to school with like 4,000 kids. And so it's just like, I'm not from, and it's Central Florida again, so like everybody coming there, just because Florida's so close to like all of these other, like a lot of Cubans there, a lot of Brazilians go and visit there because of all the outlets and the cheaper shopping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so stuff like that, but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. I felt like it was...
Well, prompted it was, did you want to be anything? Did you have any ideas? And you were just like, no, I don't know, really.
Oh, yes, the election. So whatever. I'm sure, obviously now, I can't imagine, like... Because it's like when Kamala Harris being vice president. I'm not, like, a fan of her or anything, but, like, I'm a woman. That's so sick. I've been dying to see a woman in office. Like, I really thought it was going to be Hillary. I think that goes to show how... not progressive we think we are, because you're telling me, I'm so sorry, I get it, I don't love Hillary Clinton or anything. You cannot, you're genuinely millions and millions and millions of Americans, of our fellow people, thought Donald Trump, a freaking billionaire reality TV star, was more equipped, who cheats on his wife with porn stars, was more equipped to run the country than former Secretary of State, former, like she's been in politics her entire life. But anyway, it's in the past. We can't go back.
I feel like they just really hated her. Like,
and I get it. She's not very likable, but it's just so annoying because I personally don't think Trump's likable at all.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if we're voting on likability even, I feel like she has to be. Like, you really just hate women, and it's so frustrating. So I look back now, and I'm like, I see how exciting, because too, I was leading the charge on the freaking side of the Republicans, whereas like the kid leading the charge on the other side was like just the most popular kid in class, and I felt like he was a class clown, and he was just like, he didn't care about politics because we're 13.
Yeah.
I swear I was the only 13-year-old that I knew cared. When I tell you to, my dad never voted in his life until that election, because I was like, Dad, you have to vote for McCain for me because I can't vote. And he's like, okay. I'm so, and my dad's just proud of me. He's like, that's so cool that you're getting involved in this or whatever. And so, like, I made him take me to a Sarah Palin rally, and I made him a McCain Palin shirt, and I was really, like, gung-ho about it all. Because, too, again, I was like, people were like, well, if he's going to be the first Black president. And I was like, this is a monumental election regardless, because if we're not getting the first Black president, we're getting the first female vice president. So I was like, okay, your argument's null and void because I have the same argument on my side. And I was like, McCain has fought for this country. Who's this Obama guy? He just got here. He does it because he had only been in the Senate he was a senator.
I think so.
Something, whatever. I know, I'm like,
but I'm not sure how.
Fact checkers, please.
I know, we need to get a laptop.
Once the operation gets bigger, you'll have somebody there being like, she's just making all this up. But yeah, I was just like, so I'm like coming out, and so everyone's like impressed with me because, again, nobody took this seriously because we couldn't even vote. But yeah, by 2012, I thought people have always been like, oh, you could get into politics, but in 2012 I went to an Obama rally, and I don't know where we were standing or why, but the person running it, like, Obama wasn't going to be there or anything, but Michelle Obama was there. And we stood right behind her during the whole thing. Wow. Like, they had took this whole group of people, and my dad has a screenshot, and I look so bored out of my mind just standing there behind her. But it's because my resting face, I feel like, is just like,
yeah.
I'm not thinking anything. I'm not bored. I just am resting. But I was like, this is incredible. And so I thought about being in politics, and I was like, no. And then I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I used to always want to be, because too, growing up, I feel like I love like Law and Order SVU, and like I love all these cop shows. And again, if I say anything too that like is offensive, or if you guys are like, all right, let's not. I just feel like everything that I grew up doing and liking, and like, it's cool, but I totally think we should defund the police. I think the police system, the whole system is so effed up and so messed up, and people talk about reform, and I don't know how you reform something that started, the whole intention of it was to catch slaves. And it's like, then living in Austin, and while the Supreme Court just ruled that it's legal to imprison people or whatever for living, what are you doing? Like the people who too get upset when they go places and they're like, oh, I hate seeing the homeless people. And I'm like, I bet they hate living on the street. I bet they hate not knowing where their next meal is coming from. You think they want to do this? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, no. And they're like, they could go to a shelter. And I'm like, I just always think about me. And I'm like, me going to a shelter where you have all these sets of rules, and like, and I understand why they're necessary, and I understand that they have to do it. But like,
it's difficult.
It's so hard. I feel like, there are so many boxes that we all are forced to try to be put into in our lives. And like, I was talking about school. I feel like it's like that. Like if you're not good at math and science, and you don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer, like, piss off. And then that's where it's like, where now I'm an adult and I'm a barista, and it's like people like, oh, you're a barista, or like, I'm always like, oh, I'm just a barista. And it's like, but then too, and I'm like, am I just trying to make myself feel better? But especially, I feel like I do like, because people like you guys, whereas like my other job, it's really just a coffee shop, and like you get a lot of people who work downtown, or they work from the office or from home or whatever, so they come there to work. And they literally will walk up, and I'll be like, hey, how are you guys doing? And then they're like, iced coffee, black. And I'm just like, okay. Which is cool. Like, I get it. Not everyone. And, you know, the people who everyone's excuse to, they'll be like, when they're rude, they're like, I haven't had my coffee. And I'm like, I haven't either. I also just got here. It started my day too. Because you're human and I'm human. Like, you're not better than me because you have a certain job. And it's just stupid too. Like, people who, when they're like talking about fast food workers making a livable wage.
I know.
A livable wage.
Yes.
That's what people are arguing against. A livable wage.
That's why the minimum wage was created.
And
so
but then
long, so long
ago, and it hasn't been updated in how long? And then you see people ever since. Oh my God, too! I'm just so frustrated with everything now that I brought it up. I'm so sorry, but like this is such BS.
That's why we named the podcast what we did, because we realized it's a struggle for everyone. We're always struggling and going through it. You know, complaining to each other about what's happening. I mean, you don't know much about like our politics or whatever, how we view things, but we're pretty far left. I mean, we would go so far as to call ourselves anarchists, quite frankly.
I do,
and it's but within the confines of like an actual structure, you know, that can be it's non-hierarchical. Nobody's telling anyone what to do. It's all voluntary, you know, because we truly believe in like autonomy and freedom at its root core. And we're like, there have been examples of it. I mean, I'm freaking reading a book right now. It's called Anarchy Works. It has tons of examples throughout history that have occurred, and unfortunately have always been like, you know, smashed by the state and things like that, dismantled, of course. But, you know, so we feel what you're saying.
Okay, cool.
In a lot of ways,
Very much that way.
Because
I mean,
I feel like too, because it's like, I feel like I can be a lot and come on strong, but it's just, and sometimes like my sister or a coworker or whatever, like my coworkers who, and I love all of these people, and I like that. I don't want everyone to be miserable like I am. And I don't want everyone to be as angry as I am. And I don't want people to be pissed off at the world. But like, also then sometimes I feel so alone, because I'm like, how are you not upset because you're living the same life that I'm living? And it's like, oh, you just have to have a positive attitude about it. And it's like,
Yes.
I literally say that same exact thing like every day. I'm like, we need to be upset. People aren't upset enough. Like,
and like I get it too, where it's like I don't want to be upset just at like, you know, the person sitting
Sure.
next to me just trying to go to work on the bus. Like, you know, I'm be like, well, why aren't you pissed off with me? Like, they're just trying to get to work. I get it.
Together right now.
But it's just, it always seems to be the people. And I'm like, and then I'm talking to them more and I'm like, oh, because you're not in my situation, because you have a savings and because you have health insurance and because you can go on vacations and because you're not gay and because you're not whatever, like, it doesn't affect me. And I'm like, and I feel like too, and then people, and it's like, it's always those kinds of people, more conservative people who are like, well, I don't see why we can't just get along. And I'm like, because you don't value me as a human being.
yeah.
And like,
Or at
or
least-
my rights, or like,
Value the struggle and
Yeah.
at least also maybe offer a helping hand of some kind, whether it's just education or opportunity or whatever, you know. I mean, I don't know. I'm just shooting off the top of the dome here, but
as
like,
sympathetic or empathetic, and like,
there's
doesn't
no
seem like
empathy.
it.
Yeah.
And I am so empathetic to a fault, like too much. But like, I just don't get it. I really
it's crazy
don't.
out here.
And-
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go. I will not.
Well, I was just because I mean this has been such a consistent theme as of lately. You know, things that we've been going through, and like obviously the political landscape right now, everything that's happening. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. This is absurd.
Dude.
I don't know where we lost touch, but we lost it a long time ago. I'm sure.
And we're so far from it.
Yeah.
Like, when did we lose
Yeah,
it?
and
And how
anytime-
have we gone so far since?
Anytime someone wants to do something different that is only with good intentions, it just gets tossed aside, or it just gets written off as like ridiculous and absurd or utopian
Yeah.
and unrealistic. And it's like, okay, well then let's
Yeah.
talk about how
You're
to
not
make it
living in the real
realistic.
world.
Yeah.
With the people though, sometimes I'm like, oh, like with the homelessness, like why Bernie Sanders in the richest country in the history of the world.
Yeah.
How can we not make sure in a place
Yeah.
where I saw something, and I don't know if it's accurate, whatever, but like, let's say there's 250,000 people with no homes, right? There's over 1 million vacant houses in this country.
That was exactly what I was thinking of when you mentioned that. I was like, there's plenty of space. There are resources. There is everything available. It's just not given to
And
anyone.
and it's all like the red tape and all the relining. Like, we can't, if we just decided right now to make a bunch of food and be like, oh, let's just run to Amphishore Theater and like tell people, we're
They'll
not
take
allowed
that
to do
food.
that.
They'll destroy
And then
that
we'll
food.
get in trouble for it.
Right. And then they'll put us in a cage.
Yeah.
What? So that somebody who's already rich as fuck, already has all the money in the world, their kids all are gonna have all the money in the world, and then those kids and those kids and those kids are all gonna have all the money in the world. They're profiting off of us getting put in prison.
Yeah.
And then the fact that I don't even want to say we, because I feel like it's also a majority not white people.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
or whatever, how are there a majority white people in this country, but then it's also like, that's not the majority in jails. That's not the majority in poverty. That's not the majority, you know, like unhoused. And it's just, and then too, when people bring up cops, my uncle, he's an ex-uncle, thank the universe, literally hate this man, sorry, but he's just awful. And he's a cop. He's been a cop his whole life. Or actually before he was a cop, I think he was a prison guard.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
And then he's telling my dad who literally is just, he's super, I love my dad. I do think he's totally one of those people that's just like, it doesn't affect him because he's a straight white guy. But I'm like, how are you even liking Donald Trump? I'm like, you have no money. You think Donald Trump cares about you? Donald Trump does not care about you.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyway, we don't need
Yeah,
to get
I
into
mean-
I love my dad, but
No,
it's just
yeah.
stuff like
Sure.
that where like, and then so, but even my dad, I was talking to my dad about it once because like I was just telling him, I was like, I'm just so glad my aunt is not married to that man anymore. And he told my dad, he's like, well, yeah, there's more black people in jail because they commit more crimes, which is crazy as hell to me because I'm like, in high school, it was this whole thing. My cousin started smoking weed and my uncle's a cop and he found out and he lost his mind. And guess who didn't get in trouble? My cousin.
Nice.
Guess who got in trouble? All his friends that my uncle went to the school and brought all his cop buddies in the drug unit and ratted them all out. A girl had an empty liquor bottle in our friend had an empty liquor bottle in her car because they had just done spring break, and
okay.
she was the one driving. So like she didn't even drink it. My cousin wanted the empty bottle.
Yeah.
Because I think it was just that phase where it's just like,
Yeah, everyone.
Right.
had that.
yeah, we're
Keep
16.
it.
It's cool that I'm
Yeah.
drinking. Like, I want to keep the empty bottle. So I'm like, so all of this happened. So her car got searched. She couldn't go to prom because
Of that bottle.
of my cousin.
Right.
Right? Whatever. She should have not have been that stupid. She should have been like, you're an idiot. You don't need this empty bottle.
I mean, they're kids. You're gonna make
Exactly.
mistakes.
And it's also, who are you to tell? If your friend wants it, like, yeah, sure, whatever. You can have the empty bottle. So my other friend, car got searched. He didn't get to walk at graduation because there was like this much weed in like a cup holder or something.
Yeah.
All of this because
Absolutely.
Your cousin smoked weed.
my cousin smoked weed.
I'm sure we've all seen it. I have
My white
friends,
cousins.
you know. Yeah. I have friends that have their lives completely changed because of incidences like that happened in middle school, and ever since then they could never get back on track because unfortunately, from what I can tell, the system tries to correct their behavior but puts them in a place where it's not going to get corrected.
No.
And they're going to be constantly taught and told that they're less than and they're huge fuck ups, you know, and like
Yeah.
they don't get better that way. It's like instead of catering to them and like guiding them in a better direction, whatever that might look like to whoever's doing the guiding, like no, they're just constantly being put down and told that they're criminal or whatever.
All of these things that we're forced to do or told like school we're forced to be, but it's like, and I am for school and I am for learning, and I think,
Yes.
but
Right.
I also think it's changing kind of now with certain schools, and like it sounds the way my nieces are being like raised and like hearing about them going to school. I feel like it is getting better, but I also don't know if it's just Austin is a little bit more progressive
I think it's very
place.
like regional.
It depends
Yeah.
where you're at. For
And
sure.
even with the neighborhood, because I mean, geez, yeah, there's, you know, depends what neighborhood you're going to school in.
Which is so crazy to me too, that it's like now, like you think about it, I think about that constantly. Is like, I feel like I went to school at the perfect time because I have always had a computer. Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, like the library, but I mean, like, I feel like I had a MySpace when I was like 12. So
Yeah.
we had a computer in my house for
Yeah.
sure. And I didn't really need it for school ever, though.
No.
Like, occasionally I'll have to look things up on Wikipedia, which is so funny now that, like, you can't use Wikipedia for stuff like that.
Oh,
But
then you have, anyway, no, go on,
Just stuff
sorry.
like that, where it's like now I go and it's like all these kids, like, you have to have, ever since like COVID especially, you have to have tablets.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what about the kids whose parents, like, they can't even
Right.
afford dinner? Like, they can't get their kid a tablet. And it's just stuff like that where I just don't understand it. Feels like, and then too, what do you know? It's all still, I feel like, rooted in racism because it's all like separate but equal, which was BS.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel like it's so weird to me. I don't see how it's fair that, like, again, if we're strictly talking public schools, they're not the same. And so, like, if you live in Beverly Hills and you have to go to a public school there, I can almost guarantee you're going to get a better education there than if you lived in, like, Crenshaw or something like that. Whereas I'm like, and then again, in what world is any of this fair? And, like, we're just told, like,
It's a
life's
very
not fair.
unjust situation.
And I'm like, it could be
Yeah.
fairer than it is, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
it's
all these
completely
things that
possible.
are like for the good of what? Of society, but like you're locking these people in cages, and like, don't get me wrong, I understand that if you do something bad, you should be punished for it. Like, I think, yeah, if I killed somebody, yeah, obviously I need a time away. But like, I don't know how you can even say that too. Then you look at people like Brock Turner, that swimmer who a girl, an unconscious girl. Okay, it's not. She couldn't have possibly been asking for it. He didn't. I don't even know if he knew her. If he just saw her passed out, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But now it's like him getting convicted or whatever, and then the judge who's supposed to have no political ties, no anything, owes nobody anything other than the people. He's the one being like, well, we couldn't possibly ruin this young man's life. But you're okay putting 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds, black kids and Hispanic kids, and them in prison forever. And then they're like, well, when they get out, what? They can't vote.
Yeah.
They can't get a job.
Right.
They can't afford housing. And then you're like, and then they're resorted back to doing illegal stuff just to not die.
I mean, that's what they learn too when they're in those places.
Exactly.
Like, oh, you learn how to drug deal and you learn how to make money and launder money and all that.
hustling.
Kind of.
It's
just
But it's funny
insane.
because the prison guards, the police officers, the judges, everybody, they're all doing the same stuff too. They're all criminals too.
People are like, oh, you're like, I think my grandma lives right by this prison and my cousin used to work there or something. And she's like, he's been spit at and they're horrible to him. And I'm just like, no one's forcing him to do this job. These people are literally being forced to stay in this cage. And it's just like, again, I don't know, where is the empathy?
That's wild.
Because again, I don't see myself ever going to prison. I don't see myself ever doing something so bad. But it is also crazy to me, like, I'll sneak, why should I feel stupid saying this? Feds, if you're listening, stop. But like, you know, when I go back to California, when I come back, I'm an adult. I can go anywhere and buy alcohol, which I had to stop drinking because I had a problem.
Right.
And that's so accessible to me anywhere I go. Yeah. But yet I can't smoke some weed.
I know.
I gotta download Snapchat and buy it from a 17-year-old. That's weird. I don't like it.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Hypothetical.
Hypothetically, I've heard that's what people are doing. I don't know.
But like, and I'm just like, dude, this is crazy. I didn't smoke the whole pandemic, like the whole 3 months I was out of work. I didn't smoke because I didn't know anybody, so I didn't know how to get any, and I couldn't go back to California and get any. And I was like, which whatever. Obviously, I don't need it. But like,
sure.
I'm an adult.
But something
Whatever,
simple.
you can get a beer. I want to smoke a joint.
Alcohol, right?
Like,
yeah, exactly. Like,
and so
It's because they classed it as a certain thing, and it's just messed up.
But like,
Scheduled
I always like sneak back. Like, I'll buy like a 5-pack of pre-rolls or something. Allegedly. This is all alleged. But, and then like, I'd like put it in my suitcase and like, I try to hide it and whatever. I know you're not supposed to. But I think in my head, I've never randomly been selected for anything at TSA and like things like that. Again, my life and I'm white and my whole family's white. And so just having that perspective, that only perspective. So my best friend who I moved to LA with, she's Filipino and she's mixed. She's half white, half Filipino. Everybody thinks that she's Mexican, which I thought when she said that she was kidding. But then honestly, I moved here and I was like,
absolutely.
you hella do, actually. But then it's weird, too, because I just think Filipinos, they must have, like, similar features. Because I'm like, I see it all the time. I'm like, damn, y'all do look Hispanic.
Yeah,
but,
there's a thing about
I think there's a mix of cultures and history, things like that.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
sure. Yeah, that makes sense. But, like, so, like, I told her one time, I said something about her, like, I was like, well, just bring some weed with you. And she was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no.
And I was just like, well, because then I think about it too, and it's like, well, in my head, I'm like, well, I've never been in trouble before. Clearly, I'm not trying to sell anything. It's 5 joints. They're like this big. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to get in trouble for possession. But then you hear a story about a black kid, and it always feels like it's a kid.
It is.
Children don't know what they're doing.
And that is like, too, the way that you view people where it's like Brock Turner, we can't ruin this young kid's life. And he's what, 22 years old, a grown-ass man, fully capable, you would think. But again, we don't hold men accountable. Yeah. And then it's like, then you find out that minority people have it 10 times worse. And it's just...
At least even that climate seems to be sort of changing, right? With legalization occurring in different states and all that. So now it's kind of loosening up. Here it's been decriminalized, but you can still be charged for like use
like,
or
like
intent and things like that.
Like
Paraphernalia is still chargeable offense.
Well, I was about to say, because it's still illegal federally.
Yes, yeah.
But it's just...
And I've heard, sometimes you do have good interactions too. Like, I've had bad interactions with cops, but if I'm being honest, the majority have been positive. But it's because I was shown how to speak to police officers from a very young age.
My dad have to be prepared.
Yeah, my dad was always like, you just be polite. You just, yes, sir, no, sir. Answer their questions. Don't give them any attitude, lip, or whatever. My dad also wanted to be a cop, too. But my mom wouldn't let him. So, he also has, like, a respect for them.
Yeah.
But I took from that. And I'm like, yep, every time I interact with a cop now, it's just like, no, sir. No matter what age, if I'm obviously older than them, I'm still like, no, sir, yes, sir.
But see, and that is something where it's just like, and I always want to be too, but it's just so annoying because these stupid drunk rich kids who are getting pulled over for DUIs are not respectful and they're not getting in trouble and nothing's happening to them, and it's just
it's wild.
It's just
the difference between a crime or making you criminal or not is how much money you have to be able to
Absolutely.
pay back the ticket or
A lot of
get
times,
yourself
yeah.
out of jail. Or,
exactly.
Which is not
Yeah.
something I even really thought about, but I follow all these like Instagram pages
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and then it's just like the way, and then that it's all it takes is like it's all the language where it's like jail is for rehabilitation, and it's like you say that, but it's not
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And it's like that's how I feel too. If we go back to like the veganism, people being like, oh, like all natural is good if it actually is, but like you can just slap a green label on anything now and be like,
Oh, yeah.
it's better, it's okay for the environment and the animals, and it's
Sure.
like, and for you and your family, and I'm like, no, it's absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, it's just because they're trying to make as much money as possible, any means possible. You know,
Yeah.
it's cutting corners, it's doing things easier, or it's making sure things aren't as good as it is because it saves money and they earn more.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
It's
what happens to
exploitive,
people.
you know,
Yeah.
and like people are far too complacent, and that's
Yeah.
my biggest like gripe with society in general. I'm just like, we're too complacent, y'all. Like we're also unhappy, or a lot of us are very unhappy, you know, and we're constantly fed these like notions of like positivity and spirituality and go pray and blah blah blah, have communion. But I'm like, yeah, that's all great. I love that too, but at the same time, I'm like, I feel like we have a good reason to be upset though.
That's how I feel. And then that's what I feel like too. It's just that maybe like I had no idea that you guys also felt the same way, right? So it's just something where like we just all need to talk more. But like again, we're also in our phones.
Yeah.
I am addicted to my phone. It's ridiculous. It goes into the whole not sleeping well because I just go home. I look at the little that my medium screen, and then I get bored of that, so I go to my mini screen, and then I'm all. I'm restless because I'm like, oh, I can't go to sleep. I need my screens, but I don't want to watch my screens anymore because I've watched it enough. But
No, yeah, completely.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody, I think I've said this before, but there's just no way that everyone's not a little bit depressed, because if not, they're just completely ignoring reality, because the world is a very difficult, terrible place, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
No.
This is like really cool and magical. We should be just like having a great time.
Yeah. I've
I
always
think-
loved that perspective. Yeah.
I get so hard on myself for being negative because I'm like, I know that there is so much beauty in the world, but like, in the same breath, there's so much bad going on, and then
absolutely.
it's just too. It's so like, and I just don't always want to say it because it's like too. I think another thing is like during the pandemic, like everyone. I mean, it affected the entire world, right?
Yeah.
Even rich people, and I'm just like, and like. I think everyone's feelings are valid, and like, whereas something where like, and I'm not saying I'm gonna cry for you or anything, but like, you know, those models, Bella Hadid and Gigi Hadid.
Yeah.
Their mom was a real housewife of Beverly
them.
Hills, so they're models. They're a rich family,
Okay.
and like, in one interview, and it's always like context, right? So all I saw was this little clip that someone purposely took out for this point that I'm gonna make, but like, Bella Hadid, she is talking about how like, her mom basically always treated her like the ugly duckling sister. Like her sister is blonde and she has brown hair. Her sister has a smaller nose and just stuff like that. Whereas like her mom very clearly favors the sister, not her. And then so it's like something where she's like, yeah, my mom like, she didn't even buy me the Louis Vuittons that I thought she like that she normally does for whatever graduation or something. I know what it's like to be compared to your siblings, and I think that sucks. And I think when parents when you can tell that a parent likes one kid over the other, that sucks.
Yeah.
And so like, I get that, but then also I'm just like, yo, you have to know your audience because like, because again, I think so much us complaining about our cars breaking down, right?
Right.
Sucks. And everyone, I'm like, dude, when you're settling, you're out there for hours. I'm like, damn, that sucks. Obviously, I'm not going to complain to somebody about my car being broke down right now. Like, I'm not going to complain to the homeless man in a wheelchair who has to rely on the bus. You know what I mean? Like, so it's always something like that. But too, we're all fed this like American dream. Like, oh, you just have to work hard and then you'll get rich and then that's fine. And if you're not rich, and then it's because you are lazy and you don't work hard. And it's like,
Yeah.
You're not
in
doing
what world?
I don't think it's
world?
talked about enough how like, yeah, you could work as hard as you want and, you know, just to the grave. Doesn't mean it's going to work out. I
And
think that
honestly,
needs to be said more.
98% of the time, it's probably not going to work out.
Yeah, we only have the small examples of when it does work out.
That's what there's.
out of the millions of people.
That's what, when people like everyone wants to be a billionaire. There's 2,800 billionaires on this planet.
Yeah.
There's 8 billion people. 2,800 of them are billionaires. It's never gonna be you, babe. I'm so sorry, and I'm not trying to crush anyone's dreams, but it's not gonna be you.
Right.
And it shouldn't be you because when there's no such thing as an ethical billionaire. So I think it's so gross too, like that we're all having to aspire for money. And I realized too recently that like I don't want money. I want like I just want a safety net.
Yeah.
I want to be able to like if I'm really gonna feel like I'm gonna off myself, I don't want to have to go to work and deal with shitty people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want the freedom to go on a vacation and be on that vacation to Vegas, right? I just went to Vegas with my friend, and the whole time, like, she was like, there's this place called Chef Kenny's, and there's also one in Houston if you guys ever go. It's a vegan dim sum place.
Oh, cool.
Phenomenal. I genuinely sometimes like, and that's why I love going to all vegan restaurants because I'm like sitting there and I'm like, this can't be vegan. Like, you guys are lying to us. Like, it is so phenomenal. And my friend was like, because I had the whole day because she left in the morning, and then she was like, you should go. And I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. But like, she doesn't struggle like that. I'm like, dude, I literally don't have the money in my bank account now to Uber out there or even take the bus and buy food and then Uber back. Like, I don't have the money to.
Yeah.
Like, and because people too, they're like, my friends, they'll be like, oh, just take an Uber. And it's like, totally. And it's like, I literally don't have $20 in my bank account. And granted, that's also me just being terrible with my money. Like, that's not just because, like, I don't make a lot. Like, I can pay all my bills and stuff, but I love to go to Ross, you know. But, like,
You should be allowed to do that. You should be able to
why
take
have
care
it?
of yourself. I mean, yeah, because...
I don't want a nice car. I just want to be able to have a car.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need nice designer things, but I feel like it shouldn't be crazy that, too. I lost 40 pounds. None of my clothes fit. I literally had to buy new clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need to keep buying new clothes, but, which just
No,
goes
but I
into
mean-
consumerism and
Exactly, that's the notion we're sold, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at the stuff you can have, look at all this stuff, and nobody's teaching it. Well, not nobody, but a lot of people aren't teaching
the masses.
others to to responsibly spend, you know,
Yeah.
and and how to invest your money and how to build it and all those kinds of things, you know, work within the system. But I mean, the system itself is always, in my opinion, is always going to be crappy, rooted. Someone somewhere is getting fucked over no matter what.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, to make yourself like comfortable, I guess, within your means, you know, you can. There are ways to work with it and play with it.
Yeah.
I don't know how ethical it can be. That's a whole nother like discussion, you know. But it's
Exactly. Then you get into that, and people talk about like, obviously, a good way to make money is like property. But I'm like,
I don't want to be a landlord.
I could never be a landlord. Or it's something where
I
it's
feel
like
you should just have it. Just take it.
That's-
It's yours.
And like, that's what so many
for
people
you.
too. They're like people like Jeff Bezos. I'm not because I know a lot of people hate Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Jeff, you're horrible. You're a terrible human being, and you should really work on it. You have all the time in the world to do so, and like that's another thing. And it was like people were like, don't get me wrong. Jeff Bezos came up with an incredible concept. Amazon. I wish I could shop on Amazon. I literally cannot bring myself to do it. My friends are like, Kaley, why are you taking 3 buses to get there? Just go on Amazon.
It's good.
And I'm like, I have the time. Okay, I know so many people who don't have the time. People with kids, I'm like, how do you do anything?
Yeah.
How are you ethical in any way? Because
Yeah.
I feel like at the end of the day, I would just be trying to survive.
And that's
so
really
that's why
what
I feel
everyone's
like
dealing with.
that's what too. I don't ever want to shit on anybody for going to McDonald's because
Right.
you just worked or whatever. And I understand that it's easy. And again, it's all being shoved down our throats. And then it's like anytime you say anything out of, I feel like anytime you're not that, whereas like if you want to eat healthier, like any sort of veganism or politically like anarchist, and it's like, or oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, or like oh, you're just like that's never gonna happen, and it's like it's not with that attitude, it's not. But like, look again, I literally made my dad vote for McCain. Like, you guys, people are capable of change, and like, and I think too, that's why I think I have no patience for so many things and so many people because everyone's like people love to say everyone's just doing their best.
I know.
And it is hard, and I think a lot of people are trying, and I'm like, if that's your best, you better buck up. Be better. I literally I just told, like, I'm vegan. and I'm super far left. When I told you 10, 15 years ago, I literally would not eat a meal without meat, and I was a raging Republican. But then you learn things about the world, and you learn the world's messed up, and it doesn't have to be. So you do the change, and people love to tell me, like, well, you're not doing anything. It's like, oh, my carbon footprint. So I'm doing my part, and that's all I can do.
It's funny, like stereotypically, that's kind of a conservative notion of like pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
I know. That's why, and two, them being like, oh, snowflakes. I'm like, y'all bitches are getting offended at everything.
Yeah,
You're
that's
offended
funny.
that this other person
Is
is
doing whatever
discovering
they
their
want.
It's
self-identity.
funny how that happens. I love that
Isn't
one.
it
That's
just
my
a
favorite
sense
one.
of freedom? Like everyone just wants to be free.
Or they're
It's-
like-
yeah.
But their definition of freedom is free for them, straight, rich, white people. Honestly, I always say rich, but again, my dad is not rich.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to me too with my dad is like my younger sibling. I don't know if they're non-binary or trans or what, and I always want to talk to them and ask them. They're just annoying.
That's what they are.
They've been annoying my whole life. I love them. I'll always want the best for them. I'll always be here for them, but they annoy me.
It's
One time I
funny.
texted them, I was just like, hey, how are you? And they're like, good. And I was like, cool. Like, doing anything fun this weekend or whatever? And then they're like, did you need something? I'm like,
Nice.
I thought we could just have one conversation, but don't worry, won't ever happen again.
Yeah.
But like that doesn't, okay, and another thing, I can't stand them. I love them, they're my sibling, but I'm never gonna sit here and disrespect their identity or how them trying to figure out who they are or whatever. Like just because I don't fully get it. Just in the sense, I think it's just something where like you can learn and learn and learn, but when you don't actually experience something, like I can empathize and understand as much as I can without going through it.
Yeah.
But like that's my dad, and my dad, my whole life growing up, he was like, you can do anything you want. And so I'm like, so how did you raise these two people? And yet you also own a Trump hat.
Yeah.
And so one day I didn't realize, because again, my dad, I was like, you're not even into politics. And I think my dad is such a go with the flow guy
Okay.
that those kinds of people can go one
right.
way or the other.
Yeah.
And so I think
They're fluid.
Florida, honestly, don't tell them that, but
No, don't.
they
tell
are.
them that.
I love that. I think too, Florida becoming what it has become politically. It used to be a big swing state, and like,
Yeah.
well, then too, you know, I heard what Florida was the reason Al Gore didn't become president.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah, I
again,
remember that.
George W. Bush, I feel like, is the perfect example. How was that man president? Because his dad was. That's it. Because they're rich
Oh, did you
white
watch
people
Vice?
from Texas. I haven't.
Did you watch the movie? Yeah.
Is that the movie? Okay,
It's a
because
good
somebody
one.
brought up Veep the other day.
Yeah, Vice.
But Vice.
Pretty much explains it.
Okay.
As far as I can tell.
I want to watch it.
Yeah, it's good.
That's what I feel like. I act like TV. I treat TV as like my escape, but I'm like trying to not do that so much because every time I watch a documentary or something based off fact or whatever, I'm
Yeah.
like, this is the most interesting thing I've watched in a while.
Yeah, it's funny because they even like they don't, not a disclaimer, but they say at the beginning, they're just like, look, we try to get it as accurately as possible. Like, obviously, we weren't there for the private conversations, but we imagine this is how it might have gone down. Okay, give us a break. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's we're all struggling out here. It sucks.
That's what, it's just like I feel like every struggle you bring up just leads to a different struggle, another struggle, and so it's just never ending.
So how do you cope with this then?
I feel like exactly. I used to just drink all the time.
Yeah.
And that's like another thing. That's where it's, sometimes I feel like I make people uncomfortable. Not you guys. I don't feel this way at all right now, especially since you said you're sober 3 years. But I feel like some people get uncomfortable with it because like, and like that's something now that I realize like I had a problem. My mom's an alcoholic. And so it's something where you're told your whole life, if your parent's an alcoholic, you're however much more times likely to beat it. And so my sister, I feel like, is super not a heavy drinker. Like, I'm sure she, whatever, had her party phase, you know, in her 20s, but like, she just doesn't really drink like that. And I feel like she's maybe been worried about that, but I was like, whatever, we're all just having a fun time. Well, you don't realize too, like, I started drinking, I didn't really drink in high school. Like, my friend who I was really close with, her parents would like keep their liquor stocked and stuff, like for when people come over. But like her mom would have wine sometimes, or her dad, her stepdad would ever have some. He used to drink Bacardi 151. Ooh. So that's what we started drinking. Ooh. And so then I think back on that and I'm like, I feel like that probably wasn't a great start to drinking something that heavy. And then it was like, well, then we got to college and then we lived in frick nowhere. And so then I was like, well, we're in college and I didn't party in high school. So, because we drank like a handful of times. And so I was like, okay, so then we just started drinking all the time. And then I was just like drinking it for class. And like, I didn't think it was a big deal because I'm like, people drink.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's normal.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then, so then I turned 21 a month after I moved to San Francisco. And I don't know, well, I guess if you guys, California's liquor laws are extremely different.
Yeah.
You can buy liquor anywhere, almost any time.
Oh, wow.
So like, I lived right by the place I lived when I first moved there was
We're still Christian here.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. When I moved here, I was like, I can't buy, the liquor stores are closed on Sundays? What the heck is that? And again, all Republicans want small government. Prove it. Ever.
I know.
You want to control every single thing I do when I do it, but you're all for you not being controlled. You want to regulate. You want no regulations. You want to be able to exploit people all you want so you can make money. That's what you want. Just say that. Bothers me, but
the
they never will.
hypocrisy is
But
across the board, yeah.
Oh,
on all sides.
all
too,
sides,
yeah.
absolutely.
Everywhere, yeah.
That's one more thing about that real quick. I'm tired of everybody online. I see it a lot, and like people I follow, super leftist people and stuff like that, and like they're talking about like, I do not want to vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
He's horrible.
Yeah.
He's a terrible president. He's so ill-equipped. I mean, we're literally funding a genocide, and like, what the hell? I have to go to work to pay taxes so that we can bomb these people. What the? Anyway.
Yeah, no.
He's a terrible president too, and I think all Democrats suck. I think politicians just suck. That's why when people are like, you should get into politics, like, I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that. And so, and I get it, like, you could be the change, but I'm like, Bernie, to me, I used to love Bernie. And I feel like Bernie has done a lot throughout his career, and especially when you think back, him going back 40, 50 years or whatever, doing this, and like how not, that's my other thing with Hillary Clinton, all these, and Joe Biden. Look at their track records and their voting history, because Joe Biden is a career politician. Look at all his voting things. And now that it's cool to like the gays and cool to do all that, and it's like him pardoning these people in the military, like that was cool that he did that. But it's just like, so Donald Trump, when he was president, he could do whatever he wanted and screw everyone else over. But now Biden couldn't come in and fix any of that. So now I don't have control over my own body. Because of why, Joe? If you're the leader or whatever, just everybody, all of them.
Yeah, it's all.
No, it's a
pretty messed
whole,
up.
even the ones that are supposed to be good, like they've been in the system this whole time and it still doesn't change anything.
It doesn't change anything.
And there is like it's a very exclusive club now, and they decide who gets in and who doesn't. And
Exactly.
even the people that do want to make a change, whatever that means to them, they get pushed out.
Well, too, I just saw that, I want to say it was Georgia, because I feel like that's another thing, is that I thought Texas was like overwhelmingly red, and I know it is. It's super Republican, but then it's not at all shocking to me that when you do look at the map, look at all the blue dots, I think even Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas, Houston, and Austin. And it's like...
Yeah.
It's the most populated places.
Yeah. the
Exactly.
denser,
Where it's just...
areas.
And that's like, I think I fell in love with San Francisco too, because I feel like I should say I'm pan, because I feel like bi doesn't feel as inclusive as I would, because it's just like man or woman, and I'm like, I'm not like, I never was with like a non-binary person or trans person, but I'm not like, I don't see me being something that would affect whatever. I don't think the gender really matters to me. And so moving to San Francisco, I thought the person that I was with, like we were friends, and then it turned into more, and then it was just like all this thing where it's like, and she's Cuban, and so it's like, I loved her family and everything, but like some of the most racist, homophobic people I've met. And like, it's just so crazy to me too, because her grandmother literally came here from Cuba, and I feel like they love to shit on immigrants down there. And I'm like,
immigrants are kind of.
Aren't most of y'all immigrants?
They're loud
like,
about it.
It's just so insane
They
to
did
me.
it the right way.
Right.
And then it's too, everyone loves to like pull themselves. I can't imagine pulling myself up to somewhere or getting somewhere and then closing the door behind me to everybody else. That is mind boggling to me. The people who've paid off their student debts and they're like, that's not fair that they would get canceled now.
Yeah.
Why do you want other people to struggle
It's
like
a safety thing, I think.
I was gonna say, yeah.
It's
It
like
comes down to that.
they're just trying to survive, and if somebody's gonna come after the things that they have that they work so hard for, it's not fair. They did it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just-
And like selfish too, obviously.
Oh, yeah,
like
for
and
sure.
they see how terrible humanity is or can be, so then it's like no disregard, lack of empathy, you know, like you keep saying.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, another thing too is like, and it's something that I feel like I should like learn more about and like read a book every now and then about. But like, I just think about it too, and it's like, and I don't say this too because I also don't like. I understand that I'm white, and I feel like I know that, and I try to like make sure that when I'm saying it whatever. So like when I am talking about that, it just makes me sad because I do feel like a lot of people, like them specifically, let's say, like you move here, the American dream. And I feel like a lot of times it almost feels like, because I feel like I was shocked about racism. I thought it was just like, oh, white people hating black people thing. And then you realize like that it's so much more than all of that.
Yeah.
And then it's just, a lot of it feels though like people trying to wanting to be closer to whiteness because like that's the goal.
Yes.
And that just is
That's how I
so
grew up.
horrible.
Yeah.
I obviously don't know anything about that, but like I just can't imagine that too. So it's like I never want to sit here and try to, like I hate that they're Republican, I hate that they're racist, and I hate that they're homophobic, and I feel like I can't say that, but like also I will never know what it's like at all I'm from here, my parents are from here. My grandmother also, like, I would assume is on her side of the family. Like she likes researching, I guess. And so I think her and like two of my aunts are part of like the Daughters of the American Revolution. So I'm like, I feel like, you know, obviously my ancestors totally came over and stole this fucking land.
yeah.
But so it's just like, I'll never understand that dynamic, but it just makes me so sad because I'm like, I'm almost like, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
But then it's like also at the end of the day, we all are adults at some point where it's like, you have to, I feel you have to do that work to where you have to be like, okay, that's not actually the goal. And like, what I just can't imagine how difficult that would be.
Oh, it
but
is.
responsibility.
It's difficult because you're just like, you want to be like, hey, open up your mind. Like, it's different. And then you also are like, that sucks. You're just trying to survive.
Exactly. And that's why it's just, and I feel like everyone struggles, but it's not like, I don't know. I just feel, even with, so like growing up, my dad always had a job and everything, and like he's always bought me whatever I wanted, and I feel like a brat when I say that, but it's just, because again, I don't want to drive a Lamborghini. I don't want extravagant things. Like, I don't need any of that.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, but like, you know, when I was in 6th grade, it was really important that I wear Hollister. And so it's like, you know, like my dad bought me the Hollister. I look back and I'm like, I know that he was struggling, but whatever. Well, not whatever, but like, thanks and everything. But like, he's fine now. And it's not like we were never on the verge of anything, but it's just like, then my mom's an alcoholic and she's also just not a great person. Yeah. And so like, she got fired from a job, again, it's all like 2008, which was when like a really big housing market happened. Yeah. And so she used to sell timeshare and she got fired for whatever reason. I hate getting older too, and then your family starts telling you things about childhood, and it's like, I'm like, no, I don't want to know any of that. Look, like, that's y'all's deal. Y'all had to deal with it. I have the new adult stuff to deal with. I don't need to deal with any of that. Like,
it's in the past.
But then it's hard too, because it's like, I feel like my aunt didn't feel like she had anyone to talk to, and so now.
That's a big thing.
And so, and again, another thing, like,
you're seeing it.
well, you
all
need
different
somebody.
facets of life, that are.
But like my mom, so she didn't have a job. But again, like, whereas so many other families, like, if you don't have a job, like, she got her car repossessed. And so it was like, okay, but you can survive without a car. But like, my mom wasn't, I lived with my dad. She had my brother, but then like we would just rely on neighbors or like our family would drive us, or like that's how we get to school, is like the neighbors, or we lived within walking distance or something like that. And then my mom got on food stamps, but again, she's an alcoholic. So I feel like she'll buy like food, but then she'd also sell some food stamps so she could buy the alcohol. And then it's like she's doing all this while we're living in my grandfather's, because he did real estate too, but again, nobody could afford it. And like I look back and like when I make it personal, it's like I feel for my grandfather, like that must have sucked. And like then he ended up with all his finances, like my aunt in the end had to take care of him like the last 10 years of his life or whatever, because he poured all his money into my mom, who's doing nothing but drinking and like stuff like that. But then I'm like, even then we're so lucky because she still had all of her family, our neighbors to rely on, and like so many people don't have that. And that's why I'm like, just like, I don't get the people who like, if you can help somebody out, I don't know why you wouldn't.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And my dad too, he used to say like, oh, like I don't give money to people on the street because they're just going to use it for drugs.
Yeah.
And now I'm an adult and I'm like, you could bet your ass if I was on the street, I would definitely be doing heroin all the time. I would be like, and I feel like too, that's just like, again, then you meet some people who are on the street and it's just like, they're the most positive people that have ever existed. And I'm like, I feel like I could punch you in the face right now and you'd still be like, I'm going to learn something from this. Like, what the? It's just all the people who have the least have the greatest attitudes. And like, that's how my best friend is. How I told you guys, where she's just like, you put her anywhere and she will thrive. And it's just like, wow, how? And she had like the hardest upbringing of like anybody that I know. And like, what the hell?
Yeah. It just seems to be different for everybody, and it's not necessarily dependent on experience or like.
I do think it's just kind of who you are too.
Yeah, a lot of it
and
seems
the way
to
your
be,
brain is
wired.
That's another thing people don't talk about.
Preconditioning
To create your brain, all the things that happen in your life that help you make decisions, that guide you, and whatever electricity happens, like it's all weird and different.
And I feel like a lot of the times I always come down to the same fundamental notion that nobody has any idea what is actually going on, and we're just all faking it out here.
So true. But I think that's where I feel like now that I'm getting older, I almost want to like not do that. So that's why like, that's where I was going with the drinking thing, where I feel like I was like, this is what everybody does. And everyone's like, Kaley's a good time. So I'm like, everyone drinks. Everyone does this.
Right.
And then more and more, I feel like people are talking about how they're like, I almost blacked out for the first time last night. And I'm like, black out every time you drink? Or like almost every time you drink, you know what I mean? Where it's because again, like I'm like, well, everyone's doing this, and it's just stuff like that. Or like
It's
and mental health
degrees, different levels.
And then I'm always, it's just, I feel like it is hard. I see why people are like, oh, that would never work, because like it's not perfect like us. I love people talking about mental health issues and like stuff like that, more open. And now though, I feel like a boomer when I say this, and I feel like though sometimes we've gotten to the point now where it feels like people are a little too, like I feel like my sibling one day was so my dad doesn't want to drink just regular water. He always wants to put like a flavor packet in it.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, what are you, 6 years old? Everybody likes flavored water except me. I don't know. And two, Austin.
Yeah.
Everybody with the sparkling water here. It is
really
so weird to me.
Really
And it's
very
cool.
popular with sober people too.
So popular. And I'm like, that's why when you were asking, I was like, I mean, I just drink water, but like, I felt like, I was like, I can drink a sparkling water. Sure. But like,
It's definitely helped me out for sure.
just stuff like that. So whatever. So my sibling, I was like making fun of my dad because I was like, oh, you can't, like, I was just like, okay, whatever, you need your juice. It's literally just the flavoring. I get it. Everyone does it. My sibling, I go to offer them water because it's hot. I was there for graduation. And then they like went to have some and they're like, oh, it's just plain water. And I'm like, okay, Dad. And they're like, Dad's just weird like that. Like, I am autistic. And I was like,
oh, wow. That's a statement.
What the? Everyone lately, and here
Is
too,
autistic.
and everyone, and I like
Neurodivergent.
everybody. I truly think almost everybody is actually autistic.
Well, that's the thing.
Like you're telling me, all three of us, like there's something. Like I get it. Everyone experiences things,
Just
but
human
now
stuff.
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Is that I'm like, you're not special, and that doesn't give you an
Right.
excuse to show up to work late, and that
Yeah.
doesn't give you an
Yes.
excuse to be a bitch.
Little bit.
That doesn't give you an excuse to like,
A little bit. Yeah.
like, and like, yeah, in some way, but I'm just like, that's what I mean is that I'm just like, everybody is like dealing with something
There-
or going through something, and so it's just like,
There's been too much emphasis on this concept of normal and like American and whatever the hell other box again you want to be put in or placed in or tell people to be a part of. Like, no, human beings are complex creatures. That's all it comes down to. So shut up.
and everybody, it's so true, and that's where it's like too the progressive people like who like people, you know, the people who are like, oh, I'm okay with the gays. Like, I just don't see why it needs to be shoved down my throat.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like, again, those are the people. They're like, well, they like that they could put you in a box. So now it's like,
Right.
well, now that we're like, okay, well, and like, that's my whole thing with like being pan or bi or whatever. It's so annoying sometimes
Yeah.
because people totally, well, one, especially, I like the way I look. And that's why I look this way. But also, I hate the way I look. Because, so, especially living here, people like, again, culture shock coming from California to the South, which apparently Texas isn't even the South, it's the Midwest.
Right.
Whatever the hell.
Which is weird.
And so again, how you were like asking like, oh, is it a Southern thing? I think so for sure. My stepmom is from the South. And so like, she got it up her ass one day to be like, you need to refer to us as sir and ma'am.
Yeah.
And so like, I think that's kind of crazy. I would never make my child call me ma'am, which whatever. Raise your kids however you raise your kids. I'm sorry, I don't mean it like that. But like, I don't like the I don't like the whole where it's like, I do feel like it's a polite thing, but like I also feel like it wasn't until moving here, I always refer to people be like, hey guys. And then I worked
Yeah.
at a place in the Domain,
They were like,
hate the Domain, the worst part of Austin. Because it's
pretty bad
not
spot.
Austin. Like, us keep Austin weird. Where's the weirdness? It's all gentrified and it's all corporate places everywhere. Everything's a chain. And I'm like, we've lost so many small businesses during COVID. And then
Yeah.
again, all these people moving here. And then it's just,
that's a tale as old as time though, for
Yeah.
sure. Like,
Honestly,
you look at old
every
newspaper
city
clippings in like the 1800s, people are saying the same. Like, Austin used to be a unique place until these people started moving in and
There's
building
other
their
places like that,
stores.
too.
well,
Everyone hates change.
I think
Yeah.
Austin is weird for Texas.
yeah.
Because I moved here and
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, it's, yeah, Austin, oh, you love San Francisco. Austin's just like San Francisco. And I was like, oh, so you've never been to San Francisco.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know about that.
yeah. Well, and I was telling my friend, and like, that's why I love like queer spaces or places where like it is. You go to San Francisco,
That's all.
it's normal.
That's all it is. Okay.
There's
Oh,
not,
makes
you don't have to be gay to live there. I
Sure.
promise. They don't like make you sign something like, you know, and so it's just, but it's like, it's a safe, inclusive space for these people who need it. And like, that benefits everybody. And I don't understand.
Yeah, it
and
has
it
the
really is
potential
just,
to.
that's why like these people, I feel like it's just, well, yeah. And then again, you go too far. And then somebody was saying like the other day, they're like, I don't know, because this guy I went to dinner with, he said he was like somewhere once, and he was like, I felt like I was the only straight person there, and like the way they were looking at me, like they just didn't want me there. And like, I'm sure he did feel that way, and
Sure.
I've been around, again, people look at me, and people, especially here, and they totally just, they're like, oh yeah, she's straight, and she's probably Republican. And it's like,
Okay,
you
that's
literally
what you meant.
couldn't
So I was
be.
like, what do you mean by the way you look?
Oh yeah, I'm like, no, give me a compliment, you guys know that is where I was going, sorry. But yeah, people look at me and they assume, because again, you
Okay.
look at people and you assume things,
Sure,
like,
yeah.
and like your haircut. I could never cut my hair like that. I feel like I would look like a weirdo. Like that is so fun. I feel like it suits you, and I feel like it shows though that I feel like I would not think you were some Republican housewife
Yeah.
going to church every Sunday the way that you
Yeah.
present yourself. And like,
yeah, that's true.
that's why sometimes too, I feel like when I go, I'm like, why do I have to dress so like, but I like it. I think it looks cute, but like,
Just have fun with it.
I wanted to be like, cause I had like, did, everyone on TikTok during COVID was dyeing this front part, was bleaching it.
The money.
Yeah, their
shot or
money.
something like
So
that.
I did it, and I was like, cool. And I pierced my nose,
Nice.
and
underwear
and then
nice.
there was like one time too where I like was asking my manager who's from Boston, and Boston is like so, to me, white and
Okay.
race. I think it's super racist because I didn't have any idea. In my head, I'm like, it's the North.
Yeah.
That's the Union, right? They're like not for slaves. So you think that would like trickle down.
Yeah.
Like the South being racist,
Makes sense.
and I hate to say that, but like, and it's been hundreds of years since racism. So, I mean,
No, it's still
slavery. I mean,
Well,
slavery.
Okay, I was
slavery,
like,
sorry.
We're barely removed, yeah.
Yeah, slavery. And so yeah, you would think, but I'm just like, okay. And so, but yeah, Boston. My friend works at a bar. Who it's like, I guess it's a Patriots bar, and there's like one black girl that worked there, and I'm sure like
The
whatever these
team, the
people were
sports
just
team?
drunk. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was like, huh.
This girl got punched in the face and called the N-word during the Super Bowl one
Yeah.
year, and I was just like,
Oh yeah.
what the. So yeah, now I had no idea Boston was such
Dude, it's all over.
terrible.
I mean, yeah, it's not.
It totally
You
is.
never
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. It's.
I think again, yeah, in my head I was just like, oh, they're
But
totally
we're
not.
taught-
You
like,
just
you know,
expect people
Exactly.
to be better, especially because we're like, it's the year 2024.
So advanced, so
Literally.
much advanced. I thought we'd be so close to being rid of religion by now, but then I'm like, oh wait, there's still a holy war going on over in the Middle East. Like, who am I kidding over here? We're talking about millions of people.
Yeah, and
Well, you know.
just on a smaller
How it
scale
is.
too, in Louisiana, did you guys see that they are putting all the 10 commandments in every single classroom? And I'm like,
Oklahoma Bible has to be taught now in public schools.
what? But you can't talk about racism.
Yeah.
But you can't talk about actual history. But I just,
It's funny, like going back to how
Ugh.
like, oh, I don't want it shoved down my throat. And I'm like, yeah.
but you can shove what you want
Exactly.
down
Like,
my
what are you
throat.
doing?
Yeah.
Like even some people that I follow online, you know, on Instagram, we're cool with each other, and it's just like they hate all the gay stuff, and I'm like, okay, well then I don't know who's shoving it down your throat. Like, yeah, they're presenting it just like you put your Bible quotes up all the time on your stories. Like,
Exactly.
what are you talking about, dude? It's the same thing.
It's the same person who holds his wife's hand walking down the street, but then if he saw me holding hands with a woman, like that's a problem. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's me
Just
shoving it
weird-
down your
weird-
face.
yeah.
It's like, you want to put everybody who's not like you back in a box,
Right,
back
yeah.
away, so you
Weird
can put
little-
it in the box, put it in storage. And it's like, I think people are like, no, fuck that. And like, people
Yeah.
too, I'm so sick of everyone being like, well, everyone's gay now. People are more comfortable talking about it now.
Yeah.
And what she always says, like, no, everyone's always been gay. They
Always.
they just couldn't come out
Always.
about it.
Well, and then too, I feel like I watched something and saw something that was talking about, it was like all these people who did survive, but then you think about the AIDS pandemic,
Yeah.
and wiping out an entire generation of gay men, and it's just like,
Yeah, it's pretty
they can't even talk. Like, they're not here
I don't
because they're
know.
dead
Yeah.
because you hate them, because you didn't care about them, and you
It's-
weren't there to
yeah.
help them.
It's disgusting.
And gay happens.
Especially
There's
the-
everyone's a little bit.
The doctor, oh my God, thank you. I was just telling somebody the other day. I was,
Everyone's
like,
a little bit
I was telling
gay.
my sister, I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. Anybody who's on like, oh, you're fully straight or you're fully gay. Like and I have friends who are like my best friend. She's straight, right? And I'm like, what do you mean?
I'll provide a counterpoint to that though, because I do respect people that claim to be so. I'm like, fine, that's fine. Just as I would respect someone who claims to be trans, because that's their belief, that's how they feel. We can't get inside their head, so you have to take it at face value.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're straight.
That's what I was about to say, and I would never try to convince her otherwise, because I'm like, but when she talks, I'm like, I mean, yeah, you sound straight and everything. And like my friend Ray, he's gay. He's the gayest boy I've ever met. And I'm like, but why do you just... Because I think because I'm so not like...
Right,
Because
no,
I am
that's
so open with it, and I'm just like... I just feel bad for everybody who's not pan or whatever. I'm like, y'all are missing out.
That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not.
I get
love-
it. Yeah, you're
I
not
love-
actually missing out because you don't
Yeah.
want to be
Right,
doing
exactly.
that.
Like I love people that I love that there's queer spaces available and all that. I mean, because we're a part of that community as well. But at the same time, I don't think I've ever said this publicly. They annoy the hell out of me, dude. I can't stand so many of them. I'm just like, y'all are too much. I gotta go.
I thought there's certain things too, because like you said, any way on one end. And
Yeah.
I just always see things. Well, you think about it too, is like the older I get, the more I learn about the world and the more I'm shocked, because I think my circle is so tight and my bubble is my bubble, where like
Yeah.
everybody is inclusive and everybody really is respectful of each other and everybody can be who they are. And like one of my best friend, like she believes in God and like all of that. And I think that's so great for her. And like, it doesn't matter. She's not
Yeah.
shoving it down my throat. I don't,
Right.
like, I don't say anything.
Yeah.
I'm not atheist. I just don't know what I believe.
That's fine.
But I wish I believed in something, because I feel like
Seems like
I'm petrified of death, and these motherfuckers are like excited to die. Like, it was like cool in high
A
school.
lot of the times I'm like, why aren't y'all dead yet? If that's the goal.
Dude,
Like,
well, so that's what my
kidding.
friends. So,
but also making a point.
well, that's what, like, it was like cool or whatever in high school. I don't know why. Just like all these popular kids started joining like the youth group. Yeah. And so like again,
That was me.
I'm not popular. I don't do anything. Like I didn't join it, but I saw it, and like I've always been really interested in religion. Like because again, people are telling like my family's religious, and not my parents, but their whole families apparently are going to church, and like I'm like, okay, well then you feel weird because I'm like everyone's been baptized and everyone goes to church and we don't, and so I'm like, well, what the hell?
Right.
And
Place, yeah.
yeah, so like I wasn't baptized or whatever you would call it, and so and then it's just little things here and there where it's like my cousin one time he was pissed at his neighbor, and his neighbor, you know, like they were like the bad family on the block, and I'm sure they didn't go to church or something, and he's like, well, when Jesus comes down, you guys are going to hell because you weren't baptized.
Love it.
My cousin, who, mind you, like now, if I like reminded him that he said that, he just says shit just to be a like. He's one of those. He's so antagonistic, and he's someone that he'll say something and then so horrible, and then 5 seconds later he'll be like, "Dang, I didn't mean to be like that." I'm like, "You are evil. You're a psycho." But yeah, stuff like that. So my friend's brother, he was driving us to school one day, and he joined the group because the girl he wanted to get with was in the group, and I was like, again, even in high school, I was thinking, I was like, pretty sure that you're not supposed to have sex.
Yeah.
So like I don't really know what your end goal is with this girl.
I'm not
But
a biblical scholar or anything.
we're like, yeah. I'm like, and then two people when they're like, have you read the Bible? I'm like, no, I haven't read the Bible. Well, it's like big and there's so many different
Such small
so many
lettering.
things, and then there's this version and that version. I don't think I want to read the Bible. And again, I'm not religious, so I don't see why it matters. Like you believe in your Bible, but feels like there's a lot of contradictions in that thing too, though. So I'm like, but no, it's cool and like whatever. And so we're just going to school, and he's like, yeah, we're going on this mission trip this year. And I'm like, so yeah, what's the mission trip? Like, what's the point? He's like, it's cool. We have to spread the word of God and like tell people about Jesus, because once everyone knows about Jesus, then the rapture will happen. And I'm like, again, already keeping in my head, I'm like, I'm not baptized. The rapture can't happen. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, it's talked about a lot in atheist circles, or people. There's like a whole organization called Recovering from Religion that provides like therapists and counseling because of the trauma that is induced by religion, because of fears like that of hell. I remember just the other night I had a breakdown because I realized how traumatizing it was for me as a child, thinking like I'm gonna go to hell if I don't follow Jesus. But why? Like, 'cause I feel like I didn't even do anything. Like, I'm just here. Like, I didn't ask to get born or anything, but now I'm here and I have to make sure I'm okay and I'm good. And I always ask for forgiveness. And then what happens if I forget to ask for forgiveness when I die and then I end up in hell? Like, why? You know, but it was terrifying.
It's horrible.
It's
I
those
literally
thoughts
can't
at night
imagine
when you're lying in
as
bed.
a child too.
When
I
you're
can't.
in bed, just terrified out of my mind. And then we would say these morbid as hell prayers before bed, especially when I'd go stay with my cousins, like dark stuff that are openings for horror films, or like when they're walking into the haunted house and there's like that nursery rhyme in the background playing by children. That was us. We were the kids saying the nursery rhyme, you know, like it was terrifying, man. And like, yeah, I came to this realization the other night, like I forgot what happened, but yeah, I just broke down and started crying, and I was like, my God, like I never realized how bad it affected me, because I was fortunate enough to not be like cast out by my family, as the saying goes, or like, you know, they didn't disown me or anything like that. They accepted my atheism when I came out with it. But there's a lot of people that's the case, you know, they get completely removed from their families. They get put out on the streets and they have no one to go to. Their church turns their back on them. That happens so often in our country, alone. Can't imagine. People are executed for being atheists elsewhere. Like, granted, sure, people of theists of all faiths and religions are also persecuted. Sure, I get that. But that is, I feel like, more commonly known than the former.
Yeah.
But, you know, either way, this has been a great conversation. Sorry. But we do, unfortunately, because of the restrictions of our schedules and all that stuff, and
Because
life
Totally.
and work. We have to go sell our bodies and our time
Yeah.
to make money. It's like the good little whores we are.
But of course, we would
No
love
offense
to have
to
you back.
actual- I support it 100%.
Yeah, completely.
But yeah.
But yeah, if you'd ever be down to do this again, because I had so many other questions as well.
Yeah.
You have so much great information.
Oh my
This
gosh.
was a lot of fun.
A lot to talk about.
And
It-
learn that,
Yeah.
we're the same way about a lot of things, so that's really cool.
It's so refreshing. Thank you guys so much for asking me and just being like open and talking about it. Because like I
for
said, I
sure.
feel like I don't ever mean to, like too at work. Sometimes I feel like when I am comfortable, I'll just start dumping like on my coworker who's just like, yeah, we just need to have a better attitude or everyone's trying their best. And I'm like,
Might not be the best
okay.
place for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you know what? This isn't the right place. You're not the right person.
Right.
So, but yeah. So when I do feel like when people actually let me like talk about it and we'll have a conversation, it's not me just like talking at you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why. And like too, my brain, I'm just like,
Dude, and I felt
This
that
did
too.
have it.
When we'd have conversations, I'm like, man, we could probably go for a long time for sure. But then, people walk in and you need to serve them.
Yeah,
and I'm like, no,
we're
I'm
like,
going to get
"Oh,
out of
we
the
made
way.
the line."
It's always
We'll
when I
see you
tell them, like,
later.
oh, what are you guys getting into this weekend? 10 people walk in. And I'm like, and then of course, again, with that whole, I love you guys so much. People like you guys too, where it's like that, I feel like feels more of a community space than
Yes.
just a coffee
It is
shop
really
or a
That's why we
bar.
love it.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that way, because when I'm talking to you guys and I don't immediately give my attention to the person who needs their macchiato, that's not actually a macchiato. This is refreshing.
it's
Thank you
fine.
guys.
Absolutely.
Everything's fine. It's going to be fine.
It's
We're
okay to
all
like
fine.
macchiatos in any way, shape, or form. It's
Yeah.
just not okay to treat a barista like they're a machine.
There you go.
Yeah, y'all
That's
take care of
important.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the message we do try to portray out with this project that we have going on. It's like community community is very important. Maybe not first, but yeah, it's like helpful
We're so
support.
judgy though too. It's so funny.
Absolutely.
We're hilarious.
Totally.
Yeah,
It's hard too, though, when you feel like you've been judged so much
Yeah.
for so much of your life for so many reasons.
Yeah.
Like, that's why too. Like people who, like the straight guy who's like, oh, I didn't really feel comfortable in that space, and it's like, okay, but you also have to realize these people don't have comfortable spaces to go.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
but then also,
but then it's also like, then they are going in where they're like, oh, well, like, you can't just not like him because he is like straight and cis.
Exactly.
You guys, like, he didn't actually do anything yet.
it's crazy.
Give him a chance to mess
We're all
up.
over the place.
Give it some time.
Try not to take it too seriously.
Yeah.
But we get caught up in ourselves, and that's not natural. That's what humans seem to do.
Absolutely. But yeah,
yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
But thank you,
Absolutely,
yeah,
thank
and
you.
thanks y'all for joining us again. We appreciate all the support as always. And
Yes,
I don't
thank
know,
you for being here.
yeah, if you want to plug your social media or anything, or are you cool not? You don't have to. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
I
something
don't
we
really
always.
go on social media. I don't know. It freaks me out. I
Okay.
think again, if I were doing something like, I would imagine you guys being on social
Sure.
media for
Yeah.
this. But
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just want to give people the opportunity, also, to put themselves out there.
that's how it.
Other than just like talking about
No,
themselves.
that's what it is. The guy who owns Buzzmo, he's like that, where he's like, "What do you want to do? Let's help you." And I'm like, oh,
I'm good.
"I just want to pay my
Trying to
bills."
chill.
Yeah,
No, that's good. That's good.
That's how we are.
As
yeah.
long as that can be respected.
But I
too.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah.
Tip your baristas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your servers.
It'd be nice.
Just like
And your
tipping's
servers.
a good thing. Come on.
Especially when they're injured.
Yeah. Oh god.
Feel bad for them.
All right. Thanks, y'all. See you later. Bye.
Bye.